Okay. Okay, that should be good. Hello, everyone. So this is Den and Kushi. You know what it is with TLA. We've got Dak, Sai, and Pa joining us, but we'll run through the intro in it. Basically, just going to be shooting there. And yeah, so it's hosted by myself and Vex. Most of the other TLA members are here as well. So we're going to get straight into it as well. These boys haven't seen what we're going to be talking about, but it's pretty much straight down to the spice. So yeah, let's start with intros with our special guest first, right? Parvision, do you want to do your thing? Say hello to the world.
Sorry, I typed I was having lunch.
And you can actually see the chats. You can see the chats on the stream too, like with the way the stream is. I saw it pop up in the corner.
Son of a gun.
But I just finished slurping, so we're good. We're here.
Asco.
So yeah, let's start.
Stop it.
I'm getting some echo.
Yeah,
one
wait,
of
is
you's
there an
got the
echo
YouTube in the background, by the way. Yeah, someone's got the YouTube in.
Not sure who, but I think it's gone now.
We'll get that done.
Yeah, I think we're sorted. What's for lunch
Yeah.
though, Bar? How you doing?
Yeah, what's for lunch?
I'm having ramen eggs, you know? The good stuff.
Oh, keeping it real, okay.
Yeah.
The food of theorists, I like it.
But yeah, thank you guys. The last arc. This is a fun time. Fitting name. I'm excited to hear what you guys have pulled up for us to talk about. That's gonna be fun. And
you can say TLA if you want. I know you like that term.
Wait, why do I TLA? Why do I like that term over the last arc? Wait.
Yeah. We were in a stream once, and I think it was 3 days. Like, yeah, TLA.
Oh yeah, I mean TLA is pretty dope as a shorthand, but the last arc is pretty sick. You know,
I like the last arc a lot.
Yeah, the last arc sounds like what the Noah should be named. Like, why are we naming it the Noah? It should just be the last arc.
No.
I mean?
It could be named the Noah, but like the
It's
title
epithet.
could be the last. Yeah, the episode.
Yeah.
Like if they had a bounty poster.
We go 800 years in the future, and then it's written on a poneglyph, the last arc, and everyone's like, "Where is it?" And then it's like, it's us. We were referring to the last arc of One Piece, not a ship.
Robin pulls out a big brain move, like this is the last arc.
Parvision plot twist. That's actually the real name of
the idea that
it's the actual name of the Noah's Ark. Actually, the last arc is actually the actual name. You heard it from us.
I could see like an Oda style like title card where it says like the Noah, and then below it it's like the last arc. You know, like yeah, that would be perfect.
If that ever happens,
so
you got to incorporate that into the channel.
Huge.
We'll clip this.
It's all insider knowledge. That's why we named it that. Like, yeah, it's all we know is coming. But no, for real though, like we did name it because obviously there's a few reasons, but one of them is like obviously all this One Piece stuff is coming to an end, and like I know it sounds weird because it's years left to go, but if you've been around like us guys for a little bit, then you know it definitely feels like it's definitely end game times, right? So yeah, it's appropriate. I'd say it fits.
All aboard.
You know when One Piece. You guys know Volume 1 podcast?
Of course.
So they do the first volume of every of a series, and then they'll keep on going if it's like a good series or good impression. You guys could do the last arc of you guys could wait for series to end and then just do the last arc. You know, that'd be kind of sick.
Yeah, just don't go to Demon Slayer.
just only watch the last series and then judge.
I should have done that with Naruto Shippuden. It was shit. It would have saved me a lot of time.
Yeah.
To cover the rest of the intros really quickly, we're also joined here with a wonderful creator, a good I'd like to say close friend of mine. But Dak, how are you doing today? Tell us a little bit about your day.
Hey, no, I appreciate you, Vex. Vex, you're doing an awesome job. Handling the hosting or partial hosting duties. You and Dan. But no, man, I'm excited to be here. I mean, as you just said, I'm a good friend with a lot of you guys here at TLA, so I've always been a fan of you guys, as you guys know. I had you on stream like 2 or 3 months ago, I think, already. So I'm super excited to be here. I know we've been planning this SYVISION sake stream for a while now, and you know, the little confusion with the Shonen Jump break and all that kind of helped us out. Even though we all wanted the chapter this week, I'm sure it did help us out to make this happen. So no, I'm excited. I'm excited for sure.
Yeah, I think agreed. Across the board, it's a resounding like gimme chapter. But like we're still happy. This is a major W for the collab coming into the fold. Huge W's all around. Glad to have you here, brother. And then Sai, why don't you go ahead and tell us how you doing today? Glad to have you here as well, brother.
I'm doing great. It's early in the morning for me, but I wanted to hop in here. You know, I rarely get to intermingle with the One Piece community. Par was my first time. You know, he broke the cherry there, and then the next person I met was Brago, then Dax. So like it's really cool like coming out. Yeah, yeah. You know, you guys are just breaking the huge collab cherry here, and I love it. And I also love the name. Yeah, I know we kind of like swifted over that, but the last arc is so cool because that's actually a name I used to use as an Xbox gamer tag. So,
whoa,
that's crazy.
In a weird way, it's like
the lore, bro.
The lore.
What era are we talking, Sai? Like what era of Xbox? Like what games were you playing?
Like Halo 2?
I think it was
Halo 2.
World at War. It was World at War.
Oh,
it was kind of older.
That's the last good Call of Duty.
Yeah,
I just
first and last good Call of Duty.
Sai, thank you for giving me your hymen, but I gotta call out one thing, which is
wild.
What time exactly is it, Mr. Early in the morning?
It's 12 o'clock.
Noon, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I just woke up.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
I just
so it's technically not the morning.
It's morning for me.
I went
to bed at like 7.
He comes in saying, "Oh, it's super early in the morning for me," and then I'm like, "What? Hold on, guys. Let me tell you, I did not wake him up for this."
I woke up because I heard a chapter might drop today. So
yeah, he came on a hibernation for it.
Yeah. Apparently, like the digital scans are slowly being leaked, which is kind of crazy to think about. But any day now, the chapter could just randomly drop. So heads up on that one.
Yeah, that's true.
Wild.
Already.
Yeah, Dill. So for those who are like they don't know the backstory, Dill basically threw Sai straight under the bus and was like, "Right, I've seen you post about this. You have no excuse. We're streaming tomorrow, pretty much." And he was like, "Well, okay, there's not much we can do." So yeah, now I'm throwing you under the bus, Dill.
Yeah.
Dill has no chill.
You're not chill at all.
Hey, I never claimed to be.
He says no chill. Yeah.
But we're also joined here.
I just realized that's Dill. King Kong?
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Why'd you change your name in here? What's happening?
So in the last arc's D&D campaign, which is group 2 for my group, I am a user of the Nagi Nagi no Mi, which is Corazone's devil fruit. So the epithet kind of fits. King Calm.
Okay, all right.
Did you find I just cool feel like ways to use the fruit, or is it still just silence?
Hey, Sai, I'm gonna keep this under wraps right now. My DM is also in this call.
Hey.
I was gonna say it would be really cool if you could like keep somebody's heartbeat silent, just like kill them like that or something.
Whoa, this guy's cracked with the idea.
Dude, this guy's literally straight joined the group already. He's like, okay, yeah, let's go. Like,
oh, I can fit you in if you DM me. I can write you in for the next session. We go live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. EST, 7 p.m. Central.
Oh, let me tell you, you do not want.
I am awful.
No, I'm welcome for all of the spice. Like, absolutely. We just had our first stream on my channel last night. It went pretty well, so you guys can check out the VOD there as well. I wanted to quickly also introduce the rest of the last arc affiliates and captains that we've got here with us, like Dill, which we've been shouting out. Major W, getting this a little bit organized. Glad to have you here as always, and a part of the team, brother. And then we have Den Kushmaster, who's been dropping.
Hello.
Yeah, who is going to be co-hosting with me, who is giving us the lovely face cam right now. Love it. We have Q.
To clarify, you're co-hosting with me, just to put that out there. But
yeah, I wasn't gonna say that, but thanks for putting me in my place. It needed to happen. Humble me, brother. But we have Cube of the Red Sea, the community liaison for the last arc, an absolute goat and a captain amongst the community here. As well.
Yeah.
We have Fritz the Ditz hosting the stream, and the lovely 3-Day in the chat with us as well. Welcome everybody. Glad to have you all.
Wait. You forgot to give 3Day's real title, Queen 3Day of the last arc.
Yeah, that's true.
You have to give the title.
People have lost their life for less.
Forgive me for my transgressions, but yeah.
Right. So if we're all down, we can just jump straight into it. We are stacked with some super spicy, like sort of reverie-esque questions. So if you guys are all ready, we can just go straight into One Piece, unless someone wants to make some major declaration before we get into it.
I have a major declaration.
Oh God.
Okay.
It's in the thumbnail, and the people want to know, Sai. Is there going to be a part 2 to the sock review?
I've thought about it. I feel like once One Piece ends, maybe for like the final chapter of One Piece, I'll do another sock review. So if you guys don't know what the sock review is, we're all guys here, right? Like the boys are in the chat and the VC. We've all tackled a sock before, right?
Yes, of course.
We've all tackled socks before. I've never done that. I think when I recorded that video, I was like mid-20s or something, or early 20s actually. And then I was like, you know what? I've never used the sock before. I feel like all my friends been talking about it. It's the common gag around town. I need to hop in the ring and share my opinion on socks. You ever see those videos where it's like a guy like trying like a burger for the first time? Oh, this guy from Italy is coming to America. He tries a cheeseburger. Let's see what's up. So I wanted to try out a sock, and let me tell you, I didn't like a lot of them. I think the dress sock was the best one. Wool sock was the second place, but the dry fit Nike socks were just they're dead last. So if anybody wanted sock takes, there you go.
I put in the chat. I put in the chat like size sock A, like like Dak sock A. Like.
Oh no!
There we go.
I like that.
We should have really put Vasco shot on the thumbnail. If this is the first topic of the stream.
No, I found
it was doomed to fail. Like
everyone's profile picture is just Vasco shot from here on out.
Hey, don't tell me.
Honestly, I feel bad because I gave a title to a few months ago, Vasco Shots, and I kind of feel bad with the whole Parvision joke. So, I call Vasco Shots low key, and that's just personally the most ugliest character in One Piece. There's something about him that just, So
every time we see him, he just says something that resonates with the audience.
Oh, no. With what audience?
Par's audience specifically.
What type?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's exactly.
When he showed up at Amazon Lily, I saw Par salivating. I was like, oh god, something's going on there.
That's Par's favorite chapter.
Considering my audience is in the call too, like you're just insulting everybody at that point.
It's not an insult. I never said that's a bad thing. I mean, like I gave you a spiritual
coming from the mid-20s sock reviewer. I don't know how much clout we should give this. This is crazy.
Well, Vasco merch is probably like a good way to go, to be honest.
I just want to
TLA, write that down. Like,
I think that's an untapped market. Yeah.
The Vasco shot merch.
The chat knows Sai's the Cap King, full of cap. His story.
You know how it is.
Mid-20s, just trying out socks. He had a different story on the 50-50. I'm gonna say.
Well, if you're talking about stuff Uncle's toes, that's a little bit different.
While we're mentioning the chat, I also want to say thank you to all you lovely folks that are here watching us and with us now. Make sure you like the stream. Check out all of the links in the description so you can follow more content by all of these goats that have taken the time out of their day to join us today for this spice. But Den, did you want to get us started with first topic for the day?
Yeah, just to like segue, I guess the term is like, if anyone's obviously got any questions or whatever, you just fire them away in the chat. We'll try to get to them as quick as we can, or try to fit it in. I don't know, like if we start breaking stuff down, it goes down a rabbit hole, then you might get left for a couple minutes, but just keep adding them, we'll scroll through them, we'll catch them. But all right, so we'll start soft, but then we're just going to drop it. Let's just start with Egghead so far, like how now we're on the other side of the bookend. How are we feeling about it? I'm guessing we're all pretty excited.
Oh yeah, I've been waiting for this. I mean, everything else was really hype. Like going to Elbaf was really cool. The Garp stuff was really cool. Like I feel like I'm underselling it a little bit. Like it was great. I'm not trying to make it seem like it wasn't great, but Egghead is what I think a lot of us has been wanting. I mean, that's what I've wanted the most. But we haven't seen the crew in like 3+ months or whatever it is, or even more than that. I don't know. And I don't know. I this is what I've been waiting for. I think Oda set all that stuff up with Hachinosu, with Elbaf, with all that kind of stuff, specifically so he can show all of us that and then just focus on what's about to happen. Like there's a reason, he showed us all of that Reverie stuff, showed us all the Garp stuff, like all that was laid out before we see what happens here at this incident, because it's gonna matter in some big way. So I'm super excited. I think this is I don't know. I mean, we're getting peak constantly with One Piece, so I feel weird saying like, oh, this is going to be like another peak. Like it's always peak, but it's going to be special. I think
like
for sure.
Picking up,
I
yeah,
feel
for
that.
sure.
I think that Oda has redefined what a 10 out of 10 means for One Piece in recent chapters. I completely agree with what you're saying, and I think the bar is only going to keep getting a little bit higher.
Agreed.
And higher.
Yeah, it's also cool to like have like these 10 out of 10s are all cool, like when you get certain reveals, obviously real like mysterious ones, but then there's like another angle to it, which is the last chapter where all of us, like particularly if you're into theory and stuff, I mean, it wasn't necessarily any big names revealed. We just saw a couple things that we've all been speculating for some of us over 10 years and stuff like that. So it's like just to get that, we're getting world lore. And like it's not as like sensational as someone like say IMU if we got our face reveal, but at the same time it connects to so much. Someone in our server the other day was saying what like they've watched like I think 800 and something episodes there in Whole Cake, and they were saying about like is it okay to start going back? When am I going to start seeing stuff? And it's like, yeah, dude, like the whole thing is absolutely packed. Everything counts. And we're now getting the sort of vindication of that. So spicy times.
Yeah, and I also really liked. Oh, you're good. I think the last chapter specifically, like obviously that was the segue to Egghead, so like that was cool in and of itself. But it was kind of like a theorist chapter in a way where like we learn about the Mother Flame, we see the hole in the ocean, we're like, and all of us are immediately like, okay, Enies Lobby, like there's some connection here. And then the fact that is what all wrapped back to Egghead to me is extremely important. I've been saying for a while I think Mother Flame is going to show up to Egghead at some point, and I think that the fact they were talking about it and it led into like that discussion with York, you know what I mean, like the Gorosei and stuff, and then we saw the Straw Hats. I think a lot's about to happen, because if you think back to Enies Lobby where that hole is, or like the original hole, obviously, Enies Lobby, like that's where we first heard. What's that? Are you good? Are we good?
No, yeah, we're good. I was just saying original.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
Oh, you're good. Yeah. And Enies Lobby is really based on technology, because that's where Vegapunk was name dropped right after Enies Lobby. We saw Funk Freed, which was made by Vegapunk. There's all sorts, and then like I don't know, there's all sorts of stuff that you could tie to or between Enies Lobby and Egghead, and that's where the hole is, like the first hole was, and so. I think there's just some crazy stuff going down. Enies Lobby is, probably like the most quintessential favorite arc for most people, and Egghead has like a lot of ties to it. Like I almost think originally Enies Lobby would have been like Egghead if Oda, didn't get the right for almost 30 years now. You know what I mean? Because that's where the hole is. So I think whatever we're about to see at Egghead is going to be mind blowing for sure.
Okay. So let me just ask quickly. And I'll go to par with it, and then we can just like move it around. It's just a little detail, and it was on the list for later, but it's worth doing it now. So we've been writing all these scripts and whatnot, and one thing I noticed, I think it was last night or the night before, is obviously, as you know, the Enies Lobby hole is very similar to Leisure, but what we do see over the Enies Lobby hole is an island, right? So if that was struck, then that would suggest that the island was moved there afterwards. So I was just going to say to Par, have you got any thoughts or reactions to that sort of idea if you haven't noticed it already? Like would you say that island was put there after whatever happened made that hole?
I've talked about it with Sai in the sense of obviously within One Piece there's going to be thousands of potentials. There's even powers that like you could theorize are involved there. I think personally right now what makes the most sense to me is that somehow Enies Lobby was protected, like that was there. It just, to me, it just like logically a lot of options fall down the hole essentially, because Enies Lobby isn't, it is, but it isn't like okay, so when you look at what's around Ennie's lobby, it's the Gates of Justice, the Whirlpool, then there's Impel down at one of the gates, there's 3 gates, then on the other end there's Navy HQ, which is Marineford. So you have, and all of these structures are built. Impel Down's built. Ennie's Marineford is basically a metal island. We don't know necessarily, I mean, you guys have talked about this a lot, but we don't necessarily know how much of it is natural, how much of it isn't. And so given that, right, like it's interesting that, you know, now we're in this situation where you're bringing up the point where it's like, was it moved there or was it originally there? And I feel like there has to be some kind of like reason as to why those 3 points were chosen, right? So I feel like those things existed, and it, like, rather than, you know, them moving something there, you know what I mean? I feel like it was existed, and everything that happened to them are essentially like battle scars that happened, right? And so Ennie's lobby being built there, and then protected from an Ennie's lobby whatever event, maybe there was some kind of mistake, you know, like I was talking about how when you really boil it down, currently the Revolutionary Army is what the world government would have been 800 years ago in a lot of ways, right? Like they are they're revolting against a world power. The world power in 800 years ago was the ancient kingdom. The allied nations got together and they revolted. Right now in our timeline, the Revs are that version. They took over Lelucia, and then the world government hit them with a ancient weapon type of power, whether it's an ancient weapon or not. So that kind of nuance is really interesting, given Ennie's lobby is a world government island. So would it make sense that that originally was an ancient kingdom spot or a world government spot? And I think it makes more sense that that was a world government spot, and the ancient kingdom is actually the one who hit them. Now, we don't know if they, like, if it was a meaningful, like they meant to do it or as an accident. We know Joy Boy apologized for something. But then on top of that, we also don't necessarily know, you know, whether what's the situation about the island. So all of that is kind of like confusing at this point, but I think I'm kind of sitting on the idea that that existed. It was protected, and maybe that's like an apology that Joy Boy had to have, right? Like he didn't mean for that to happen. Maybe one of the ancient weapons went out of control. Other than Pluton, Poseidon, and Uranus, all 3 of them have the potential to destroy the world. So or not destroy the world, cause great destruction. That's why they're called weapons. So I would imagine that like if Poseidon, you know, what like was known to have, or not Poseidon, Pluton was known to have destroyed an island, right? Because that's how history works. Like you wouldn't just make rumors about something that never happened. So I'd imagine Pluton has that history, Poseidon has that history, Uranus has that history. So I wonder which one was involved, and I would imagine that Ennie's lobby, Uranus, Joy Boy, that's how it all connected. And Ennie's lobby was like the battle wound, the battle scar of
Yeah, like there's
fight.
no chance that Oda finishes up the story without giving us a lot more like info on that. And like what interests me the most is that going into Egghead and tying it back to Egghead is that like we've seen him kind of redefine what an arc structure is. You know, even with Wano and doing the 3 act and like us getting the cutaway in between part 2 and part 3. And so like there's no telling, like theory crafters are kind of losing their mind because we have no idea what all is going to get covered in the whole Egghead situation right now. And if we go away from the island again, just because there's so much cooking. And so it's about like, I think, when do we feel like we're going to get that information provided? And so thank you, Par, for cooking there. I want to turn it to Sai and to get your opinion a little bit on like what all you think we might get before Egghead is done. Maybe not even things directly pertaining to Egghead itself, because like we just spent such a long chunk of time away from the straws. Do you think we're maybe going to do something like that again, or just get right to the meat of staying on Egghead for a while?
I think we're gonna get to the meat of Egghead for now. As far as if we're gonna split up again or like deviate away from the Straw Hats, I feel like we will. I feel like it's in the cards. Now that Dragon is finally coming out to play after 25 years, now that the Gorosei are all making moves, I feel like we are going to split away from the Straw Hats, at least by the end of Egghead. Maybe not right now, but I do think by the end of Egghead, we will split up the Straw Hats even. I feel like it'll be the perfect time to send half of them one direction and the other half a different direction. I feel like that makes the most sense for me. Just based on like how many Straw Hats we have. Like Elbaf, for example. I don't think Elbaf is a place where all of the Straw Hats necessarily have to go there. But that's just how I feel it right now. As far as like whether or not we'll see outside groups come into play during Egghead, I feel like we will. I feel like Oda's going to keep up this structure of an arc. He's going to split away from the Straw Hats, tackle Buggy and Cross Guild. He'll split away, talk about the God Knights. I feel like that's what we're in store for now that it's the final saga, especially since we have all the main players too. He set up the 4 Emperors. We have Luffy, Buggy, we have Shanks and Blackbeard, and I think we're going to keep up to date with what all of them are doing constantly. I feel like that's what the final arc is all about, and we're just going to see how all of their stories somehow coincide. Because right now, like Blackbeard, for example, like yeah, he has Garp, but minus that, it's like how will he run into Luffy? Emu even. I feel like Emu's the biggest question for Luffy. Because as it stands right now, Luffy has nothing to benefit from going to Marijois and taking them down, beating the Gorosei. Like, they don't really matter to him. Like, he doesn't even know the Gorosei really even exist. He's just doing his thing and wanting to become Pirate King. So, like, how does he go against the world government is one of my biggest questions. And who knows? Maybe Rob Lucci will be there for the ride, which is what I'm most excited for. I know it sounds goofy, but I love this final arc simply because all of the craziest characters are coming into play. Like all of my fan favorites are finally here, and it's like, yo, I don't know how the hell Rob Lucci's gonna fit in, but he's hanging out with the Straw Hats.
Yeah, I was just about to add on to that. It's like, yeah, I'm gassed, like hyped about Lucci. So like we've just done a few questions. Let's throw it to TLA about like, what do you think is going to happen with Lucci and Kaku? Do you reckon they're going to go back? Like, it's not looking like they're going to be able to join the Gorosei again or like join protecting the Celestial Dragon. So what do you think is going to be happening there?
I don't think they're going to go back to the world government. I mean, they lost their jobs when they lost to Luffy back in Enies Lobby. I don't think they're going to have their jobs now when they're hanging out and, you know, at their party. Like at that point, I would suspect Luffy or Lucci is working with the enemy. Like the guy's actually hanging out with everybody. So I don't think Lucci has a job anymore. Same with Kaku. They might actually join the zoo, like Par said before. So that might even be in the cards.
You didn't let me say it though.
Who knows? They might even have a job at the with Cross Guild. I feel like there's a lot of things that's in store for Rob Lucci, at least for now. Because by the end of the series, I feel like we will get like a World Government 2.0, and maybe they work for them. But right now, I don't know what the hell Lucci's gonna do. I think he's the biggest wild card on Egghead. Like Stussy, we know what side they're on. Saint Saturn, like yeah, we kind of know what they're fighting for. Lucci is the main question. Like, does he switch sides? Does he have a job?
And having an awakening, like having an awakening in Egghead going against Gear 5 Luffy, like, and his name is Lucci. Like, they're pretty similar. I'm pretty confident. Like, it's a good concept for to introduce. Like all these experiments, one of them gives Lucci an awakening, and then it goes rogue, and they use it against him. So yeah, I do think something's coming. Kaku will probably just get midded off though. Like.
Real quick, was Lucci and Kaku on Dressrosa? I feel like I remember them being there.
Lucci
yes. That's where we saw Lucci was in CP0 for the first time.
Yeah,
They
were masked up. They were masked up, but people could recognize in the silhouette that it was Lucci.
Gotcha.
And I think it was at the very end of the arc too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So I'm surprised Sai hasn't brought up his how Egghead resolves his. I mean, I'm a fan of that pathway too, but I stumbled upon something recently. Someone commented something, and I was like, "Huh, interesting." It was Sai likes the idea that the Grand Fleet shows up to Egghead, and like that's part of the reason why everything wraps up kind of quicker than what's expected right now. Do you still feel like that?
Yeah,
I still feel like that.
Yeah.
My theory was, especially within the last chapter, that like, I mean, we know for a fact from back in the Water 7 days that Iceberg has had a long dream to turn all of Water 7 into a vessel, like a ship that can float. And they had an issue with the rising water levels before. So the immediate first thought that I had reading the chapter was, oh, Iceberg's setting sail. We even saw him in a panel. So if you were to set sail with all of Water 7 and peel through Paradise, hit up Fishman Island, and then peel through like the New World and everything? What if the whole Grand Fleet all pulls up sailing on Water 7? Like, how spice would that be?
That would be pretty spice.
I would love that. I think that's amazing.
That'd be crazy.
That would be so silly. Imagine Oda tries to like, divert our like what we're thinking. And he's like, oh, like here's Water 7. And then we're like, oh man, they're so far away, they're not doing anything. And then boom, Water 7's like around the horizon.
I think that would be
towards everybody.
To loop in more Lucci lore as well. Like, because like him getting fired from CP0, I mean, he was fired from Galley Law too. And that was one of the coldest lines, in my opinion, when Polly's like, if you see them again, tell them they're fired. Like, I loved that. And getting like a reunion of that. And I'm still a big fan of Polly for Straw Hat. Like, I always thought he would be a great addition, but I would love that. And that's how I would think if the Grand Fleet does pull up, I would love to see that. That would be a huge flex.
So
yeah,
I definitely don't think they're the type of guys to fire people or just kill people, but I do know what you're saying.
I think the Grand Fleet is definitely coming now. Someone commented something. Apparently there was like a Reddit person who like we've all talked about this, I think, as creators too. It's like the timeline of like all these narrator boxes and announcements. Like I haven't had the time to nail down timeline or figure it out, but there's been estimates, but this apparently a Reddit person said like the narrator box for Egghead, and the situation lines up. I think they said something like 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and they were saying that lines up with the end of Dressrosa, and the end of Dressrosa is when the Grand Fleet says, like the narrator box ties back in and says like, 7 odd and mighty warriors label themselves the followers of Straw Hat Luffy. After this moment, they will each grow in power until they eventually cause a great incident of historic proportions. But for the moment, that is a story no one yet knows about. And so if it hasn't been like, if Wano wouldn't even, in hindsight, or even in foresight, like when you kind of think about it, the way it's worded, like Wano wouldn't even make sense because like they wouldn't be the cause of it. But I could understandably see how like this moment could be something that the fleet has like takes credit for or causes, because like we're getting the instance of like Sai and Leo on Marriageois, right? Like they took the blame and they took the Grand Fleet thing. Then you have Barto with the Shank situation. So like Oda is kind of setting up like the fleet to take a lot of credit for things that Luffy didn't even do. And so like maybe on Egghead, there's some kind of way where that ties in. And so unless Oda holds this for even longer, which fine, but I also feel like this is in a lot of ways it's like the perfect like setup for the fleet, in the sense of like on Wano prior, a lot of people thought it was there, but the thing is like you'd have to get the fleet to Wano, on top of Wano to Onigashima, then Onigashima's flying, so it's like it doesn't even make sense for the fleet to show up and help there. Versus this, it's like it's literally a fleet of ships going around Egghead, and a fleet of ships from Straw Hats and to like, counter.
If Luffy and the crew are like, I saw Big T donate, so thank you for that. And he was asking about, do we think that Bonnie would be the reason? And just to tie it into what you were saying, like, I think like we could see the Grand Fleet like nowish or towards the end of this arc before Elbaf, and the reason why they'll go back is for Vivi, and the Grand Fleet will be what like allows them to be able to go back.
Yeah, and the reason why I was asking about the Lucci thing was because Grand Fleet was made in Dressrosa, and Lucci was reintroduced at Dressrosa, and at the end of it, he was the one who's dealing with the like result of the fleet's actions in Dressrosa, because like they were the ones fighting all the wars. So if we have an arc where the Grand Fleet was created in Dressrosa, and that is the same arc where Lucci was reintroduced into the story as CP0, and he like primarily left us until Egghead, and then Egghead is where he like shows out. This could also be where the Grand Fleet shows out. It'd be an easier way for Oda to like pocket the same like characters from a same arc, kind of thing. Like he already put them in the same arc, and it would make sense to reintroduce them back in the same arc, kind of. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see that.
One last thing too is that another weird parallel with the Grand Fleet is that during Marineford, we had the Whitebeard commanders the Whitebeard commanders and the Whitebeard allies all fighting vice admirals for Luffy. And I feel like this could be the perfect time for the Straw Hat Grand Fleet to be fighting the 9 vice admirals that are here as well. And we can't undersell these guys. They're really strong. Any day now they're going to become an admiral.
Which guy? Oh, those guys. Those guys you can't undersell.
Kadar, Doberman, Dahl, like all of them.
Reps Yamakaji really hard. Like
I rep all the vice admirals. Those are my boys.
Yamakaji isn't even here.
Any Marine size down to ride for.
Yeah, any Marine. Any Marine except for maybe Garp.
Whoa.
And Kobe. They're too nice.
Oh.
And Kong.
And Kong, yeah. And Bogard. I only rep the bad Marines. I'm like Saul Goodman.
But hey, I gotta make sure you're on the same page as me and my brother Dak here with the Helmeppo supremacy agenda. Like
I agree.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Right.
There's a reason why I said
no arguments then. We're good.
You can just get it out of the way, Bex. We all know it's coming eventually, so just get it out of the way now, and we can.
It's plain and simple.
We'll let it go.
We only know of 2 of the Supreme Grade Blades, and I'm thinking that in the final arc, final saga, we're going to be getting a lot more reveals. And I think that it would just make perfect sense to me if Helmeppo's 2 Kokiri Blades were both Supreme Grade.
Amen.
He's going to rise to...
He's definitely getting Conquerors, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, he's going to be Admiral 100%. Level at the end of story. I'm calling it.
He has Kokiri Blades.
He's going to be one of... Kobe's going to be the fleet admiral, and Helmeppo will be one of his admirals. It's going to happen.
Agreed. He's going to be throwing honesty impacts like left and right. Like it's going to be crazy. You guys don't even understand the Helmeppo.
I see Helmeppo retiring and with his dad.
No.
No. His dad's already retired.
His Morgan, he finds his dad, and then he rekindles the relationship.
Wait.
On TLA, like every week,
Kobe is
like sorry,
if Kobe's honesty impact, what is Helmeppo gonna be? Like
King of Hell?
Like
impact.
It wouldn't be this, but like dishonesty impact, like lying impact, like because like he's not actually strong, but like you know what I mean? Like I don't know what the joke is, but I think there would definitely be some opposite to Kobe there for sure.
Plunger impact.
Basically. Every week we do like a game show on TLA, which is called Ask the Audience, and the audience like votes for who wins. And it cannot be denied that he doesn't barely ever get a single vote. And most of them are just Vex's ults anyway. So yeah, he's definitely. I'm not going to put him up there, I'm afraid.
Oh my god.
I mean, in a lot of ways, like Helmeppo is like Zoro plus Usopp, I feel like, and so it's like abandoned father thing.
Mm-hmm. You're talking about power scaling?
Oh, so he's gonna
not power scaling. It's just like how Oda morphed the characters. Like I feel like Kobe would kind of be like a little bit like Sanji and Luffy a little bit, and then like a lot of Sanji's like mental stuff. Like Kobe just got over. He was just like, "Yo, why am I on Alvida's ship right now? Like that's kind of why am I not chasing my dreams?" And that's kind of like what Sanji did at Baratie. He was kind of like, dreams aren't worth dying for, right? And then but then Kobe really took that to heart and jumped in front of Akainu, and so he and by the end of the series he'll completely surmount Akainu, Sai's favorite Marine and his least favorite Marine. Oda's gonna flip the story, so it's gonna be a sad day when Sai quits the story, but that's all fine and dandy. Helmeppo though is an interesting one because it's like I want Oda to make him cool, and I feel like Helmeppo goes the way of Tashigi a little bit, hey, I mean, it's like
this insult.
I feel like when it comes down to it, right? Oda did something goofy, which is he gave Zoro a little bit of a 2 people, right? To like in the first 100 chapters, he gave him Helmeppo sort of, and then Tashigi, and both of them are kind of disappointing. But I feel like Helmeppo is going to be better than Tashigi. But I feel like by the end of the story, that's when Oda is gonna finally give Tashigi something, and that'll put her over Helmeppo. And I don't know how I feel about her.
We just saw her freak out and bail. Like she just absolutely disappointed. I thought she was going to do something, cut the end off, but my bets were wrong.
Tashigi did just as much as Bogard did.
Oh,
Yeah, dude, the only
No,
That's a
difference
Tashigi
lot.
did worse. Stop it.
Bogart
Tashigi did
doesn't
worse.
claim.
He's been there much longer than
Helmeppo,
Bogart.
the good thing
No,
about Helmeppo is
at least Ishiki
he
was
jumped in front
reacting
of a
to the
cannon.
situation.
He didn't use his sword. He used his face. It's fine. It's fine. But it's like, at the end of the day, you know, where does Oda take Helmeppo by the end of the story? And I just don't know, because
Uh,
when it comes
to the
to like,
grave, ideally,
I-
like,
I think he needs a
Actually-
devil fruit.
Helmeppo took a charge, and we're
oh,
holding it
don't give
against
him a
him.
devil
You know,
fruit.
Give him a
There's
I'm
actually-
Logia.
thinking, I'm
So
thinking,
actually-
I'm thinking he wields two blades. That's the Shimitsuki way. He's in a lot of backstory. He's in a lot of the backgrounds of cover stories. So maybe, just maybe, might get some black and blades, or like he'll be some sort of Shimitsuki. I don't know. He'll go to the school and become cool for a day or something. But
Oh,
yeah,
So-
that's so good.
No,
For
so this
me-
is a good tie into what Par was saying, but with Helmeppo being the two characters of Usopp and Zoro, he could just lie about them being supreme grade blades.
Oh no.
the classic
yeah,
painted
that's what I
meme.
was saying with the honesty impact. Like that's Kobe's thing. Helmeppo should just be lying. Exactly, dishonesty, everything.
So for me, I kind of saw
Broad
some.
impact.
So
You know
I kinda
what?
see some similar patterns between Fujitora and Green Bull, with Kobe and Helmeppo. Both of the groups joined at the same time. Both
Yeah.
Kobe and Fujitora, connected to observation hockey, have some sort of eye issue. Kobe needs glasses, Fujitora is blind, and have the same scar on their forehead. And Helmeppo now has those black shades just like Green Bull. So I always felt like, there's something about Green Bull and Fujitora that's remnants of Kobe and Helmeppo on how they're going to progress.
I think
Maybe
That's
not
my
sense of
agenda now.
justice.
yeah, the obvious parallel that I see is that obviously Kobe to Garp, and so I wanted to make this tie in before Bogart stocks dropped to the point where they did recently, but like the Bogart we all thought that we were gonna get. Like I feel like that's like what Helmeppo will be to Kobe's Garp.
Whoa! Who's we all thought?
Okay.
This is
There's a bunch
blasphemy.
of
This is-
bandwagon Bogart
That-
fans.
Yeah.
And there's a
And
bunch
there's some of
real
us that
ones.
never got on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
Yeah,
That's what
and
Paul's saying. Exactly.
anybody who's not LeBron.
I was
that's-
popping the tires on the bandwagon. I was
and
ruining
see,
the
there's
entire
tiers
wagon.
of
That
it.
night, no
There's-
one saw you, but
There's goalpost
Yeah.
movers. There's non-believers. I put the non-believers at third rung. The goalpost movers at fourth. The bandwagoners. No. Actually, no. The non-believers are second. The bandwagoners might be third.
Bandwagon.
So
Yeah,
the way
they
I
could-
see it is that we are gonna get a little bit of a nice backdrop there for the King Kong now. I love it.
Oh yeah.
Like with Bogart, I think we are going to get more. It's just not at this point in the story, and I think that we even might get a very clever way where Oda shows us Bogart flexes kind of like vicariously through Helmeppo, and I would be so happy with that.
If I get anything less than Jin in Bleach, where like it's like poof, when you get that oof moment, then I'm gonna be disappointed. Like Bogart's, yeah, come on, man. I wanna
I
see
think
that.
Comparing him to Gin is crazy.
Oh
from
my God.
Bleach.
I think a lot of people
Yeah.
So,
just need to be
They're on
more
the same level, side. Come on.
Yeah,
So
they're
guys,
just as strong.
For all the people on the Helmeppo thing, I don't know if you're aware of an SBS that Oda had. Someone asked, I can't really tell if Yosaku and Johnny are strong or not. It's definitely by a hair. To be totally straight, between those two and Helmeppo, who can stretch further? And Oda disregarded the question so far that he just says, I hope that Kaya will become a wonderful doctor. So in that regard, Kaya is the person we should be looking out for. She's the one who's going to solve the problem on Ibisu. Vegapunk is
God.
going to completely toss out Frankie and Chopper.
I swear to God,
It's Kaya.
You get Chopper off the crew if Kaya is the one.
Yeah.
Who solves you get her as the doctor. We don't
He's
need
not even
Chopper
as a
anymore.
doctor.
No, but I think that's a diversion because Oda does that sometimes when people are like sniffing around
Mhm.
like the true end game. He's just like, oh God, let's throw some sand on this and cover it up a little bit.
For
So I
sure.
think that somebody in that SBS with whatever they were asking, they were drumming up the real questions that Oda is like, oh, I can't answer this. So he just
Usopp's the luckiest
sure.
dude. I can't believe it because I feel like I don't know. I've been thinking about this recently. There's a huge trend with my videos of like pre-time skip becoming meaningful. Like Oda, started out the story knowing
yeah.
a lot of the ending. So I don't know why. I just feel like Kaya, that's where the Mary came from. Usopp being like one of the East Blue boys, but then Kaya, he's the doctor stuff, I feel like Kaya could just show up at the end and do some cracked ass thing. Like, do you guys feel like Kaya could just roll up and then like everyone's like, who is that? And then she runs at Usopp and then everyone's like, what the fuck? God, Usopp. And then, you know, they start praising Kaya and I don't know. I have this weird inkling about Kaya.
I don't know if we see it, but if we do, I need to see her ask about the Mary and us get like a little bit of that.
No, you fuck.
Oh,
we burned that bitch alive.
No, it's gonna hurt.
No, so that'd be Sai's favorite day. If someone asked Kaya what happened to the Mary, Sai would be that'd be his favorite chapter. Yeah.
Oh my god.
So guys, we've got 2 super chats to get on. So I'll just jump in. Both of them from Mr. Bushido. So the first question is, will Kuzan or is part of the Revolutionary Army?
Ooh.
It's possible. I don't think it's the most likely thing, though.
I think the main thing that I feel off of Kuzan is that he is his own independent entity at this point, and if he might align with several different values of different factions. So we have so many. We have the Revs, we have the Marines, we have like all of the different Emperor crews and like things like that. So many different factions. I don't think he fits perfectly into one.
Yeah,
don't
too messy.
Perfectly into Blackbeard right now. I think it's like he has overlap with many of the factions, is my opinion.
So then here's the question, because I feel like we've had a lot of conversations about Kuzan. A lot of people don't think that he's, you know, I see a world where he might still like be super undercover. Yeah, that's possible. Oda could do something crazy like that. But the other thing is, it's like no one really answered this question. And you know, if I were to talk about it or ask someone, I'd be like, why do you guys think like Kuzan had his fight with Akainu, and then he just like coincidentally was on Blackbeard's Island, or he chose to be there?
No. I think that's all like he knows. I think like by the end of it, we'll have like a new sword, which will be Kuzan in Gart's place, and it will be probably Smoker, maybe Tashigi, or some sort of like Queen of refugee vibe or some shit. But like I don't think that he's going Revs. I don't think he's doing anything like that. It'll be something new. And,
but that doesn't answer the thing. Like what Kuzan?
Well, I think he knew he would to be there. I think like I hate to say it, but I think it's the Snape thing. I do think it's the Snape thing. Like he knew he had to be the one to kill Garp and not kill him, but freeze him.
No, not that. Like a year ago, when he beat or lost to Kuzan, presumably it was right after like the news that went out, and he's like still bummed about it, which means it's like recent. Even Vasco was just like, yo, that just happened, right? So it's like, why did Kuzan, after fighting Aokiji, was it a coincidence that he just showed up on Blackbeard's Island with Blackbeard's crew?
No,
or did he choose to go
that's
there?
not, is that Blackbeard's Island, or is it just a random island in general?
Well, they're like holed up there, yeah.
It looked like a random
island. But that's the thing. Like I wouldn't, like I think it's more of a fate meeting kind of thing. Like it's not,
okay,
because like saying he's on Blackbeard's Island, like it's not like it's probably just a random island they both ended up on. It's not like he went to Blackbeard. You know what I'm saying?
Personally, I think it was planned. I think like as soon as he lost to Akainu, I think it was a genuine L. And the reason why would probably be because there's like lack of fortitude for Haki as opposed to Akainu's. And then he's like, right, okay, so I can't do it this way. I'm gonna have to find another way. And then he goes and pretends to have a drink on wherever, you know, they bump into each other. That's
and also like,
that's what I'm thinking.
And I agree with Denden, because also don't forget he was an admiral. He had access to a lot of information, territory, those kind of stuff. You know, just by reading the newspaper of Blackbeard's move, he would know which other islands Blackbeard might make a move. And I do feel like I have the same with Kizaru. I feel like Kizaru and Kuzan, the reason why they joined the Marines isn't for justice. And the moment Sengoku Garp were out of the picture and his finger with Hokkaido, he can become fleet admiral. He literally branches out to the next best thing, which was Blackbeard. I think he targeted Blackbeard.
So you're on the side that he used his knowledge to influence where he ended up, and he wanted to be in this place, whereas Sai and Dax feel like it's just a coincidence that, you know, they showed up. You know, and I don't even know if Oda will ever give us that, but that would be, I think, if Oda was ever to determine or dissect whether like, or play with the idea that Kuzan isn't like being straightforward, independent here, then that would be the flashback that we get. We like what happened right after, why Kuzan showed up here, and Oda kind of does that sometimes. He gives us the flashbacks kind of like in a weird order. Like in Kaido's situation, right? Like we got them from King, and then they were slowly going backwards, I feel like, and then we got his like full one, right? And like that's what's kind of happening with Kuzan here. It's like we're going like most recent and then further back. So maybe that's what Oda does with Kuzan here.
I'm kind of in the middle. I feel like him ending up on that island and running into Blackbeard is a total coincidence, but I do think it is his prerogative to infiltrate Blackbeard and eventually backstab him. I feel like that's in the cards. I just feel like that island itself was a coincidence.
So do you feel like Kuzan wants to execute a justice, right? Like he's trying to enforce justice. So you think that like Blackbeard was a target, kind of, like this is the pirate that's most impeding on my sense of justice, so I'm gonna go here. And then he was kind of like rizzed up a little bit.
I think it's put onto him by Akainu, actually. My crazy headcanon theory is that him and Akainu, while they don't see eye to eye, and obviously Akainu like dismembered Aokiji a little bit, I feel like at the end of the day, they still are working together. And maybe it was like hey, whoever loses has to go take down an emperor. You know, whoever loses has to leave the Marines and, you know, do their own thing. And maybe that's what Kuzan is doing. Maybe like at the end of the day, he's like, you know, I hate this guy, but I lost. And that's why he's doing the opposite of what his justice is. His justice is lazy justice. So maybe like that's the whole thing. Maybe by the end of the series, it's like, oh, okay, like we see a new motto at the top of his office that says like I don't know,
proactive justice.
Proactive justice. Yeah, that's a good one. Thank you.
No, I think that it's not necessarily so much that he thinks that Blackbeard is like the biggest one and he wants to target him because this is the person who's impeding my justice the most. I think it's actually the opposite, in a sense that it's like whenever he was about to, you know, he just kind of no-diffed the whole Blackbeard pirates and was like, what, you can't use your Quake powers because you'll break. He had Blackbeard on the ropes like in seconds flat, but it was what Blackbeard said that kind of convinced him that this could be a convenient avenue for me to ride this wave and be lazy, be chill, let somebody else do the work, and I can still get to my end game. You know, off like kind of how like Blackbeard did it back in, you know, Impel Down, like, or in Marineford and things like that, like riding that wave. And so like I think this is just something that's convenient that still serves his justice without getting in the way of it, in a sense. But I do like the Akainu parallel. I've heard that a few times as well, that it could be like these two are kind of in cahoots behind the scenes and everything. But that's the way that I see it with Kuzan, is that he has his own individual goals, and this seems to just be like one of the more convenient ways for him to get it accomplished without having to break his own back. He can just ride other people's waves.
And
I like that.
I'll say this. I have an agenda because I reread the End of Wano and Egghead a couple of days ago. And I've been saying it for a while, but I think the idea of going after Pudding and the whole Garp thing comes from Kuzan. He was the one involved in capturing Pudding, and he's the one handling Garp. Like, I feel like he's the one, like, nothing that he told Blackbeard he has a plan, more like he has left some traces that Blackbeard used, guiding him to that ideology. Like, maybe he was thinking of different stuff, and he liked the whole sword thing, the way he talked about sword, gave him, like, some sort of knowledge. I think he specifically gave him certain knowledge for him to go after Pudding, for some reason, because he was there at both instances for Garp and for Pudding, and that's Blackbeard's newest moves. And I feel like Kuzan
personally, I don't know what her like deal is, but like she is the daughter of the Soul Queen, and she has the ability to remove memories, which she does at a wedding, which like definitely seems Joy Boy related, or like in like deeply related to the history of the One Piece world. So Three-Eyed Tribe and all that voiceable things, I think she's going to be some sort of weapon, like or tool, like for Oda.
Yeah, Kuba, I like that idea you brought up, because it could all just be a matter of like once Kuzan joined, they're talking about how to get certain information, and then Kuzan's like, well, if you could access Garp's memories, you would get those answers you're looking for.
Yeah.
And then Blackbeard's like, oh, really? Oh, well, there's a devil fruit we can do. And then so that's how, like, it's not that Aokiji necessarily called out Pudding's fruit, like, in particular. It's more like he was just like, if you know how to get memories, we can figure some stuff out. And then that's, so I like that. Like, it's not, you know, it's still connecting everything, but maybe not him.
Yeah.
It's like a chicken or the egg kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's like it wasn't necessarily the memory powers at first. It was like, oh, we need to get these memories, and so that ties to the Garp situation now, right? On Hachinosu, like if that is the case, I mean that everything just lines up too perfectly, honestly. Because also Pudding's over with Blackbeard on Winter Island, which is a whole other thing, and so it's like Oda kept Kuzan and Garp away from the memory fruit powered person, which is like just the narratively, like literature wise, like he probably did that on purpose. So now when everyone meets back up, like the Blackbeard pirates, then we can get that explanation. So I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah, and it serves my agenda that Garp is actually rocks. So it's like.
Speaking of
so
the weird tie-ins and everything, I wanted to touch on, now that we're more on that subject, another super chat by Mr. Bushido with €5. He said the narrator hinted that the earthquake was unrelated to the hole. What if Blackbeard used his devil fruit? Says I don't know, but he can. They have stated that the power of the Gura is that devastating. So
before we answer the question, can I just quickly jump in and say, like, on what Dak was saying, it's interesting. I never really thought about it, but we were just talking about kids, like a kind Aokiji comes to Blackbeard. All the others are recruited. So it is interesting that he has such a strong ability. Sorry about the bells. He has such a specific ability to preserve wills with all these tricks and secrets, and he went to Blackbeard, which might suggest that Blackbeard doesn't know everything about him. You know what I mean?
Technically, Shiryu would be another example because he came back to them with the antidote, and he didn't really need to do that. So and I've drawn that parallel, but it's like in Kuzan's situation. That's why I was asking the whole island thing, because I feel like with some characters like Shiryu or even the rest of the Blackbeard pirates, and there's probably examples in other pirate crews that can make sense. I feel like Oda sometimes isn't gonna, like, not sometimes, he's not gonna care about like how these things happen. It just happened, right? But like Kuzan, I feel like he actually will. I feel like he's gonna dissect like nearly every questionable aspect of Kuzan, down to maybe even his childhood. Amongst the admirals, I feel like Kuzan is gonna be like the Sanji of the situation, where Sanji has the most fleshed out backstory of the Straw Hats, despite people's qualms about it. I feel like that's what Kuzan will get, and maybe through Kuzan's flashback in his story, we know that after their fight on Punk Hazard, apparently they were still joking around by the end of it, right? So like we'll learn about Akainu through Kuzan and all the other admirals through how they interact with Kuzan, I feel like. But it'll be interesting.
Like, just to quickly touch on the Shiryu thing, like the first video ever on this channel was Q's video about Shiryu being the jailer that told who's who about the Nika fruit. And it is interesting you say that he went to Blackbeard, because if Shiryu is the one that spread the Nika thing to who's who in prison, then like it would make sense that he would seek Blackbeard out if he thinks he's like some Joy Boy alternative or something like that. Like,
it's not.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's also the fact that he's seen Luffy and Buggy but never talked to them. Was in his cage, and outside of his cage, when he saw Blackbeard, that was the exact quote he said. I've been waiting for someone just like you to walk these halls. And the jailer is someone that suddenly disappeared, and Shiryu has invisible fruits. So, and both their nicknames are based off rain. The one who drops the droplets, and Shiryu is Shiryu of the rain. So yeah, you get the whole context.
That's true. Their name, I recently stumbled upon the who's who thing, and the reason why was because I was like, we don't necessarily know if he was an Impel Down. Someone like made the claim, I forget where. I think I was on my Man Marked by Flames video, that who's who came from Impel Down, but like we don't necessarily know who's whose timeline on Kaido's crew, and that was like another thing, because the claim that Impel Down is like unbreakable fortress is kind of like, it's not as propaganda, but more so it's like they've hid, like they like Morley escaped, and we don't know who else escaped with Morley, for example. And in that time, Ivankov was like running an underground operation there, so we don't know if that was a whole separate thing too, so that they were having people leaked out. And then the thing that who's who was talking about, and the thing that Ivankov was talking about, it sounded similar, but it also is like, so like a guard was talking about Nika and then got swifted away to Ivankov. Like that doesn't make sense either. So, but then we don't know where who's who was.
It's
Yeah,
my
the
headcanon
thing about
was. Oh yeah, sorry. I was
No, I
just
was
gonna
gonna
say
say, and
my
why
headcanon.
King is wearing a Impel Down outfit too, which is kind of funny.
It's
Mhm.
also the way
I-
he was describing when he got arrested. They wanted to get rid of me, so I wouldn't talk. Level 6 is where they send people to be forgotten from history. That's where the headcanon came from, Impel Down, at least for me. The way he described why
yeah,
he got sent away.
No,
Level
yeah, I
6.
get that. I'm just
But-
saying it's not confirmed, like of like
Oh yeah.
you know, because would it make sense that he escaped to like after the time skip and then Toby Ropo, I guess, because like Drake kind of did it, but who's who running straight to Wano afterwards is interesting, right? Like that. I don't know. It's just like that pipeline isn't. That's so. In the video, I said that King, because he has an Impel Down outfit, he was just masquerading because he knows about Joy Boy and Nika. Like, if there was a guard, why is he wearing a guard's outfit? And then how does Kaido get like people from like people in his crew? I was saying like I wonder if they're prisoners, and then who's who is actually an example. But again, we don't necessarily know, and I'm just like I wonder if Oda is gonna do anything with that, because who's an interesting character when it comes to like Lucci, Cypher Pole.
Yeah. It was my first ever vid, so like I definitely feel attached. Like I'm a big Who's Who's fan, and like one of the reasons is like there's a lot of stuff about Cypherpole people don't know. Like their family members were also a lot of family members of Cypherpole were in Cypherpole, and that's the kiddie. Sorry, Who's Who has a family member in Cypherpole that was never named. I'll mute up in a sec. But yeah. So Who's Who I think is super spicy, and let's not forget he was charged with ferrying the Gomu. Like they hadn't had that fruit in 800 years, but he was charged with ferrying it, and somehow, you know, it's pretty spicy. He's an interesting character.
I want to see Shanks jump rope him in the
Oh.
flashback.
Yeah, we're gonna get a Shanks and Who's Who clash. Imagine they're equal in strength.
Yo, how disrespectful. I mean,
Get this guy out the stream. Fire this guy. He's content.
This is a long time ago, right? But imagine like Who's Who actually put up a fight against Shanks, and then
Yeah,
like people
like a
draw
young
the
Gecko.
comparison with Kid. Who's Who gets power scaled above Kid automatically. That'd be kind of wild.
He clashes with Shanks and he's like, "I'll show you who's who."
Do you think Who's Who has conquerors then?
He has advanced conquerors.
Oh shit, that's what I'm talking about. Cypher. See, that's how you know Cy glazes up the Cypher pole. It's wild. He doesn't even like this.
Government and Marines. I have to.
And
That's
real
it,
quick,
dude.
to go back to the Who's Who stuff real quick, just one like maybe piece of evidence that shows he's not an Impel Down or was never held up in Impel Down was that he talked a lot about like the slaves were the ones talking about Sun God Nika, right? And like they would disappear. And I would actually argue that Impel Down's like the one jail where slaves aren't as common, right? Like if you think
They
about
might have been used
like
to
just
build
randomly
it, but yeah, I do feel.
but
what
like
you're saying.
for instance the Wano prison, for example, like they were literally put in that jail or whatever to be a slave. Like they didn't, most of them didn't do anything wrong, right? Where while there's obviously like a fine line between like you know getting locked up and then like if you do something wrong and then get enslaved because you like are locked up, like there's like there's like different types of enslavement, I guess is what I'm getting at. Like if you do something wrong and you're in jail and you're asked to do stuff, it's like different than typical slavery. But regardless, it's all bad. But point is that like the people in Impel Down, it looks like they do something wrong and they're just locked up, like straight up, like they're just kind of suffering. They're not actually slaves. So whenever Who's Who says the other slaves, like yeah, maybe it could have been when Impel Down was being built or something else, but that almost makes me think it could be like a God Valley type situation or like a Marie Joie type slave situation, because you know going back to like Fisher Tiger and all that and Boa, we know that there's tons of slaves in Marie Joie. So like that could be it, because that could also be a situation where like if you talk about the sun god near IMU, like there's no chance, you know what I mean, you're gonna get away from that. Because remember like the guards in the Reverie, like in 1085, I think they were talking about like the Phantom Room, and one of them said something and they disappeared or whatever it was. It's like the same vibe as the sun god Nika stuff, where like people disappear for talking about the wrong things. So I get the vibe that he was in Marie Joie, but not that it's a for sure thing, but that the slave thing makes me think it's Marie Joie.
There's something interesting in the chat that was just being said by Tori. He says, wasn't in level 5 Mr. 1 performing slave labor? I'm not that. I don't remember clearly on
I
level
don't think
5.
so. Well, he was in
I
level
wasn't
4 anyway.
level 4. Yeah,
but,
level 4. I mean, I'm the
no,
one who said level
but
5.
that was just. Well, that was like the one that's like boiling. Like I mean, I don't know. I feel like the amount of slave labor you would get done there would be minimal, just due to being
just hold on in
tired all
chat.
the time. I mean, maybe, but yeah.
I'm on the same boat.
It's
I think
like
who's Marie Joie, like slave.
Yeah, I think like to me it makes sense. I don't know timelines right now are fuzzy. I feel like I'm really bad at timelines when it's like off the top of my head right now, like on live. But when it comes to fish or tigers, I'm pretty sure Shanks got the Gomu Gomu after that fish or tiger story. I might be wrong.
Correct. I think yes, you're correct.
So who's who? We know Shanks, Gomu Gomu's ship. He's punished afterwards. He's imprisoned, and then that's where it's like, well, the next canon point would be, Impel Down, our version. But then the question is, does it make sense for him to have like, he had kind of like seniority a little bit over even Drake, like the way he was talking with Queen and his like, also like the way I feel like he was devoted to maybe to Kaido. So maybe Marriage Rod does make sense. We do know that like Cypher Pole was dealing with Orochi or something like that. So maybe there were various traits. But we do know that like Marriage Raw essentially isn't like a lockdown. Like you could get in as the Revs, like you could get out as if Kuma was there.
If you're Morley, you have free access to everywhere on the planet. Apparently,
Giants coming out the red line. That's all I'm saying. That's what he was doing there.
But dude went into down, made a room, and then
I had an tie into, I guess, like you were saying, the hierarchy and how who's who seems to have a little bit of a flex within the Beast Kingdom pirates. I think that, so we know for a fact that Kaido got his fruit from Big Mom and owed him a life debt and things like that. So like, where did they start hunting all of these other specific types of like these ancient Zoan devil fruits? But we do know that who's who has experience with hunting down devil fruits, right?
Yeah, like I was gonna say just before, like, because what I'll say will tie into what you're asking, Vex. Sorry, so I didn't want to cut you off, but I was gonna ask, right. So we know that like who's who, he's got a family or a relative or someone who looks identical to him who was at the O'Hara incident, along with 2 members that were named and they were named as family members of other people that we now see in the South Pole, not the Gorosei. And then we see him with the Gomu and then the sun god Nika thing in like prison or wherever. My question is, the Gomu thing happened before. So do you think it's just coincidence that he was punished for the Gomu thing and then was told in prison about the sun god Nika? Or do you think it's not coincidence? Do you think the dude whoever it was knew that he'd been transporting that fruit and then that's why he told him, or it was linked to that?
Oh, there's definitely a chance, but yeah, I don't know. I think he left it ambiguous, kind of intentional.
For me, I think it did make sense, or at least he knew there was a correlation because he's basically the 2 chapters where he talked about it. He first talked about the Gomu being connected to Sun God Nika, and then talk about slavery and how it liberated from slavery. So I do feel like, I'm not saying he knows 100%, but there was something in that exchange that convinced him that, I think he talked about the fruit, and then the guy told him about Nika. So he said, "Why does he?" And he's not a dumb person, so he might have made on his mind that there was something. Shanks, a former Roger pirate, taking that fruit from him, he started just thinking, and he made like a theory, in a sense, that they might be connected.
Jinbei also created a bit of the conversation whenever we got the info dump as well, because of the whole relation to the Sun Pirates, and he was in info down as well. So I think that it could be like maybe Oda was just clever in painting it that it could be a coincidence, but maybe there is more there. Yeah, I think that's really interesting thought. I did want to shout out to the about 70 people we have in the chat. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Yeah, guys, we appreciate it, honestly.
And here's the thing, I would tell you to like D stream, but there's 67 watching and 66 likes, so there's only like 1 person that could do it. So major shout out to the chat.
Yeah, we'll be getting to super chats again here very shortly. I'm just loving the discussion that we have going on. You guys are all just doing a wonderful job cooking up some great spice with us. Thank you again for that.
You know, I just
Yeah.
realized with the Who's Who thing, there's a part that I forgot about their conversation, but Who's Who's had a pirate crew, the Who's Who pirates. I don't know if we mentioned that yet, but he also said that he saw Jinbei once when Jinbei was a warlord. And that doesn't necessarily mean that he saw him at Impel Down because technically he wouldn't be a warlord then, but that kind of implies that it was before Impel Down because that's when Jinbei was there, that Who's Who was escaped and probably a pirate saw him as a warlord, or he could have saw him as part of his job as a cipher pole. But it's interesting because there's also the line Jinbei, and I don't know if Oda will ever do anything with this, but he said, maybe if I see your face, I'll recognize you. And then he goes, too bad you'll never see it. So maybe who's like, if we go into the Jinbei flashback, maybe it would be crazy if we saw like a character that would look like Who's Who. That'd be interesting.
I
Huh.
do know
In regards to the warlord thing, Jinbei was still a warlord in Impel Down. He didn't lose the position until he left Impel Down, because as soon as he got to the Marineford War, basically, Sengoku's like, so is this your final answer? He's like, yes, I officially reject my status as a warlord. So he didn't lose it until he left Impel Down, so it could have still been Impel Down.
Well, Parvision, I might have something for your ears. Who's Who is exactly 38 years old, the same year as the event of God Valley. So I do have this headcanon that Jinbei could have been one of those kids in God Valley. Like I know you like that headcanon, so I do feel like there Who's Who might return in a Jinbei storyline flashback, most likely.
You know, this is a little bit of a teaser into a video, but Jinbei, you brought up the point that I don't know, like, a lot of people don't really acknowledge this, but because of my Man Marked by Flames video, I kind of had to like look at Jinbei a little bit because I was like, wait, Jinbei's old, but like when when Roger went down to Fishman Island to get the poneglyph, Jinbei wasn't like mentioned at all. Like Jinbei would have been in the Royal Guards, but like apparently he joined later, and that's like at the age of like 35 or something. And I'm like, wait, where was Jinbei before? And like we don't have an answer for that. Like Oda just has like a 30, like at least with Brook we kind of know like, oh, this is what he was doing, right? But the Jinbei, it's like it's a completely we know that he was an orphan we in
Also,
the slums, but like we don't know anything in between of him becoming strong mafia like and then
what we do
joining the
know,
guard.
like we do know something about him and the Man Marked by Flames that connects them is whirlpools. Fishmen can make whirlpools, and like he's a strong fishman, and like the Man Marked by Flames has the power of whirlpools. I'm not saying they're the same person, but I'm saying Fishman might be connected to that ability. But yeah, it's just a thought.
And I'll say this: I think that the Seraphims, with their age, their personality has to fit the original people when they were that age, and that Seraphim Jinbei doesn't seem to like humanity at all. He saw humans, he started attacking them, and he was triggered by racism in Wano. So I do feel there's a reason why Oda has hidden that away. Like there might be a dark backstory.
To touch really quick on some of the other super chats we've got, these will be pretty quick, but we got Captain Smokey gave a shout out. He said TLA, much love for all the goats. And we also had JP Legend asking if Par has talked about his love for Vasco Shot.
No comment.
We've talked about it. I don't know if Par's talked about it.
We talked about it all the time off stream.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy how much real estate it has in other people's minds. And I wonder if that tells you something. You know, I wonder. It'd be crazy if they if their socks are so hardened, like almost armament hockey hardened, over their thoughts of Vasco.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's crazy.
God.
The amount of pictures that they have on their hard drives. Let me tell you, Dax has it on speed dial. I don't know what that says. All I know is that we should invest in a laundromat for Dax and Sai.
Oh, did they cut him off?
And then speaking of the man, the myth, and the legend himself, we're getting joined right now by Grand Line Bound, newest addition to the team for the last arc, Captain Smokey himself, who will be entering into the chat. He's a friend of the channel who's been on some of our news coups and some putting in some spicy promo as well for the upcoming Yu-Gi-Oh tournament. This dude is an absolute genius and is coming through with some spice momentarily. But everyone, make sure you go check out Grand Line Bound as well. Link in the description.
Can we just double check as well?
He is in the audience, by the way.
I was trying to gift some memberships, but like it wouldn't let me for some reason. Let's just double check it and then I'll try again. But let's bring Smokey in and get him on cam and he can wave.
Well,
and say, like,
he has to accept the invitation. I've invited him like 3 times to speak.
Sometimes it glitches out, and I was gonna say if he requests to speak, us accepting it is a lot easier than trying to do it the other way around.
But we'll get spice from Smokey momentarily. Did want to continue on a little bit about, I'm loving the topics that we're having here, talking about, you know, Blackbeard, who's on, who's who, Egghead, and things like that. And like Oda specifically with what he's been doing with the story recently. I wanted to pose a question to our guests here and the chat as well. If you guys had anything to cook on, make sure you throw this out. But did you guys think that we will? Hey, what's going on? Did you think that we will probably be getting maybe something from the revolutionaries like sooner or later when it comes to the whole Egghead side of things? What's good, Smokey?
What's good, guys?
We chilling.
Yo, what's up, Smokey?
Hey, what's up, Dex? Now continue your question, man. Go ahead.
I was asking about the revs since we've talked a lot about some other factions and some cooked up some theories and had some great discussion about a lot of the other things that were going on, and we did kind of touch briefly on the revs, but we've gotten some named attacks from some enigmatic figures throughout like One Piece that we haven't really seen like some like official flexes for. You think it's like soon it's going to be actually time for Dragon to shine?
Oh, it's looking like that for sure. The tables are turning, you guys. I don't know, like his whole statement with the Holy Knights. He was like, once the Holy Knights are shown, like, you know what I mean? You go.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see like because like yeah, we were talking earlier in another super chat as well about how Bonnie could be the connection to how Luffy is invested in taking on the world government through the Kuma ties. But I think that honestly right now it's probably painted to be more of a dragon fight as far as the whole IMU and Holy Knight side of things. So you guys think we're gonna get a war on 2 fronts here, or that it will be like a full battle royale for like the final war that's approaching?
I think it's a battle royale. It has to be.
Jeez.
Everyone's fighting for the throne.
Yeah, I agree with like it seems like it. I mean, it could go either way. It can go either way.
I'm curious to know Sai's standpoint. He's known as a prolific dragon hater, so curious.
A revolutionary hater, actually. I don't agree with their mission. I think what they're doing is illegal.
Well, it's definitely illegal. Definitely illegal.
It's always illegal until they become the one making the law.
Exactly, like Doflamingo's speech. Until they become justice, they're criminals. And let me tell you, I'm not rooting for the revs. I don't like Dragon, Sabo, Ahiru, that egg dude, like Jidong, like they're all trash.
Side, wow. Let me hold on. Give me a second, guys. Hold on. So when the revs
like my bounty's gonna get
ultimately, when the revs ultimately, we can agree Luffy's gonna win, and then the revs are gonna succeed. So you're saying they're gonna become justice, and you're on the side of justice. So does that mean you code swap? And you're now a revs man afterwards?
No. I don't like what you support. For.
Oh, so then you still will support the Marines who will be outlawed and criminal? So
yeah, because guess what? In their eyes, they are justice.
Okay. I just want to.
I follow the Marine justice.
Ah,
Gee.
gotcha.
I don't know. I don't know why Paz can't
All I
call you
gotta
out yet.
say-
Like we could just drop.
Wherever Emu goes, I go.
Sai,
no.
Sai's on his own personal brand of justice.
But
and
let's be
keyword.
real here. Dragon dropped a
Sai
blasphemous
justice, yeah.
line. He said when the God Knights, when they start moving, we're gonna make our move too. He's acting like all of the revolutionaries can all of a sudden fight the Holy Knight. Imagine how disappointing that would be if when we get to the Holy Knights, they're all defeated by Ahiru, Giron, Bello Betty, like Morley's
true.
coming out,
It's true.
defeating Garland. Like
The goats.
When
he's acting
Sabo's
like
your
they
second in
made
command, this
Sabo.
disappointment is inevitable, really. Like at the end of the
Oh.
day, like Ivankov's like the best One Piece theorist,
Hey.
but other than that, they've got nothing. Like Jack, see, my kid agrees. My kid agrees. Like,
They already walk up and they're going wild.
Morley was
Sai.
throwing hands with Green Bull like it was
Hey,
no
stop.
problem.
Nope,
So
nope,
I don't know
nope.
why. I don't know why we are sleeping on him.
No, I'm
He's-
not.
We
No,
saw it.
Green
Thank
Bull's
you,
We saw
holding
it
back.
firsthand.
He was holding back.
We saw it
no
firsthand.
way.
Green
That
Bull's
was-
mid. Green Bull's absolutely. He's done nothing other than be mid
Yeah.
every time we've seen him.
Nope.
Like,
Nothing but
Green Bull
hell.
is always holding back. That's
Can-
all it is.
oh,
Can I just-
he was holding back in Wano.
Yeah.
let me just quickly jump in. Let me just quickly jump in. Right, basically, our engineer behind the scenes, right, and he's making more of an appearance. But right now, the dude who's streaming this is watching this stream on YouTube in VR. So if you do have VR, apparently
Oh,
you
that's
can
dope.
It's
do
kinda
that.
cool.
What
I'm not sure
the
if you want to see our faces in VR, but
I'm also gonna say
Dak and I do it personally.
What
Yeah.
timeline
Sorry.
are we in?
Yeah.
Someone's
Sorry, since
watching
you're-
this stream in
Parvision.
VR?
Hey, hold on, Par.
Yes.
It's not just someone watching the stream. It's the person who's actually streaming this stream.
They're hooked up to the mainframe.
oh my
Oh
god.
my god.
The mother frame.
If you had your own
What if-
If you join the memberships, you get this special virtual reality experience, and aliens come down, and theories
what-
get solved. Oda,
Yeah,
there's an
you-
avatar. No,
That's what the
Yeah,
mother
use
frame
your
is?
Parvision branded Apple Pros to experience this
The-
in VR.
yeah.
By the
The
way,
mother frame
Sai,
is just
You need giant
goggles,
glasses, like
and Emu is so ugly that the light doesn't hit her, and it just sort of bounces and causes Lucia events. That's what mother frame is.
she deleted herself from the augmented reality, like so. Yeah, you can't see her if you've got the glasses on, but yeah.
so I changed
Ready
since
Player One
Sai
Piece is what we've been
is a
calling
big
it.
lover of the Revolution Army and Sabo. I changed my profile picture just for Sai for this stream.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes.
Oh, there we
Sabo's-
go.
No, I'm not a big fan of Sabo. I respect his power
Oh,
level.
God.
Same with Dragon, but let me tell you, awful characters. I don't root for
You know
him.
what though? You know what
Yeah.
though, Sai?
I
I
don't
kind
know
of
Sabo.
agree with your take overall because the Revolutionary Army just destroyed food. You know what I mean? Like they destroyed the
they're just
food
gonna
stores.
starve people.
Like that.
Come on.
Exactly.
That's
And
tough.
like, yes, I get it's the Celestial
of
Dragons
Empires
food
players
stores.
right
It's like
there,
you're trying to hurt them, but I'm like, Sanji would not care.
Oh,
Sanji
yeah.
would hate that no matter what. That it's antithetical to the Straw Hats to destroy
Sanji
food like
versus
that.
Sabo.
So
It's coming up.
But basically, like Luffy eats the amount of food like every island that they destroyed. So it's like he destroys food too. He probably leaves people
Life
starving
return,
as well.
baby. That's all I'm
hey, at
saying.
least he's eating it
Life
though. It's not
return.
being wasted though. It's not getting wasted though.
Yeah,
you
so
know,
it's
Dude,
not
as long as
blowing
you
it
eat
up.
doesn't just not get wasted. He absorbs all of that stuff. Kid absorbs all of that stuff, and who else do we see do that?
Mhm.
Bonnie, and she's got powers that relate to age, right, and timelines and lifespans. So,
Yeah,
like,
it's
yeah,
bad.
like
I
that.
actually think like it's not just a joke. Like, I think the life return aspect is real when it comes to them guys eating all that food and stuff. And then you see Big Mom and Stroizen's control over her through food and singing, which is Coop's hypnotism stuff. So sorry to
Yeah.
just throw some theory spice in there, but I thought
That's
why
right.
not?
Throw it, baby. Throw it. Sprinkle it.
Actually,
That's
I just put
Have
it
we
in.
ever seen a Celestial
it's
Dragon
calculated.
eat before?
yes.
Besides Saint
not with
Saturn?
that. No.
This last chapter, right?
They
Was
used
it?
Lunar
We
Temple.
saw
Besides
Yeah,
Saint
Saturn.
Saturn.
It was
Because-
it's not
Only one.
canon, but it was in Film Gold. The
Film
Celestial
Gold?
Dragon riding
Yeah.
on a slave was eating.
Ah, interesting. Yeah, I was just asking because the Saint Saturn, I feel like the Gorosei, in my opinion, are separated from the rest of them in a lot of ways. Like they don't, none of their outfits are the same. They don't wear the Saint
I
Saturn's out
completely agree,
breathing
like-
normal people air, and then you could kind of attribute that to Garling. We don't know fully yet. He seems like he's wearing a black version of what the normal
Man,
Celestial Dragons are
if-
wearing, but I wonder what
Yeah.
they eat because
If I was a
They're,
Celestial Dragon,
it's
I'd be
normal.
eating people.
They're vegan. You didn't know that,
Whoa,
Parvision? They're
skirt,
vegan.
skirt. Wait a minute. Like, what's
Wow.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. We
Like
don't want to be demonetized for cannibalism. Like,
cannibalism.
Hey, well, while
Hey,
we're
you got the
changing
power, you gotta
that,
do it, you know.
Sai has
yeah,
to
it's
go
true.
back
Yeah.
and
Whatever that
reread
algo asks for. Like,
War because Doflamingo explicitly states there who changes what the definition of justice. The winners.
Sai does, I think. That's the
The
idea.
winners. The
Basically,
winners always decide what justice means. So justice will always prevail.
I
But
feel
for
like
which
the
side?
GARP line, like a lot of people compared it to that stuff, and it kind of loses meaning when it's like, oh yeah, justice is whatever team wins. Like, I get it, that's definitely part of it, but when GARP says it, I think he's definitely referring to a particular justice. Like, I don't think he's going like, well,
Yeah.
whoever wins wins. You all suck. Like, you know.
No, yeah,
Oh
I get
yeah,
that.
yeah.
It's still the basis of Doflamingo's statement. It still holds weight.
Hmm.
Like the Straw Hats
I-
are
Definitely.
in a way justice, but in the grand scheme of the world, they're probably not since they're pirates. It really just depends who's saying the word justice. It changes in
Mhm.
meaning. It's like how I say,
Right.
I can't wait to eat my tasty dinner tonight, and then everybody comes to my house, and then all of a sudden it's like poop on a plate. It's like, yes, you know, like it's not exactly tasty for everybody.
Yo, Dak,
Well-
I'm curious. Do you think what do you think's do you think Nika and Justice are tied? Do you think Nika is like a Justice vibe or Joy Boy's a Justice vibe, or do you reckon they're just out for vibes? General vibes, not Justice vibes. If that makes any sense. Oh, the abyss. The
Actually,
abyss.
right,
Someone
emo,
else?
the
I wanted to
emo
say
girl.
a little bit earlier. I put it in the
Release,
Sai's personal brand of justice if he were a Marine is crusty justice.
Crustus, yeah, that's true. Like, that's true.
Mine would be genocidal justice.
Oh my god.
Okay, we need to like
got that
someone mute this
Helmeppo.
dude. Like,
Sorry, just change, just change your avatar to Akainu, you know?
Yeah,
It'll be easier.
take after Akainu. I'm a better Akainu fanboy than Green Bull.
using that information chat, if you can put whatever justice you think is size in the chat and just spam it as much as you can, and then it will stick
Got that
eventually.
Helmeppo. Got the Helmeppo.
Hashtag crusty justice.
El Nepo justice.
Oh, no.
Don't
No,
say it'll
no.
stick when we're talking about
No.
So actually, I like to drop a little spice here because that being is a lot of remnants of Thriller Bark. Zoro has nothing to say now. He has something to say. The Iron Giant, Ors, adopted from the West Blue. We talked about Soul. Dr. Hogback is from the West Blue. Do you guys think we might get some hidden gem from Thriller Bark that was not shown, and we'll get an egghead? Because I'm getting the vibes of it a lot.
That's an interesting question. I personally think like Thriller Bark is more connected to the East Blue, which is like spiritual vibes, like big sake, healing qualities, long life, swordsmanship. But Egghead's definitely more technical based, right? So I would say Egghead is more related to the New World, which would be the moon, and just generally like stuff that has like technology that's futuristic but ancient. So I personally don't think it'll be Egghead that reveals it. I think it'll be Elbaf that gives us more on Thriller Bark. Personally, that's my take. But what about you, ladies?
Interesting with Thriller Bark, because like technically we already had the not confirmed Hogback reference with the memories, and I feel like Thriller Bark was really important when it came to Souls memories. That's when we got reintroduced to, or not reintroduced, but introduced to revival through Brook music. That importance, the separation of souls, shadows, memories, bodies, all that stuff. And I feel like there's a world where like Vegapunk is kind of he's Oda's way of tying all of the research together, given that he's referenced Hogback.
Which is why we get Funk Freed, maybe, right?
Yeah, like
Sorry to cut you off.
I'd hope so. I'd hope
a fruit and a sword, which is kind of very foreign to the technology we usually see.
Yeah, I would imagine that there's something, there's going to be something valuable at the end that ties probably nearly every arc prior, because something, after Eni's Lobby, we kind of like reference Vegapunk literally every arc at least once, until we finally got the man. So, given Eni's Lobby, that was his introduction with Funk Freed and the lasso. Technically, we can't confirm that, but technically that he's the only person we know of that has created that. Now, lasso could be like a natural one, like the Wano teapot thing, but as far as like Thriller Bark goes, I would imagine that there's gonna be like the research about corpses, memories, maybe even ancient giants, because to a certain extent, like Kaido got the numbers apparently from Punk Hazard.
Yes.
Because Big Mom said like, oh, I guess he bought them or whatever, like something like that. And so that's like a whole separate conversation because Kaido was witnessing King being like him and King were on Punk Hazard, right? And being experimented on. So Punk Hazard is Vegapunk, and so there's a whole tie-in there between
there's a
Kaido,
whole
Vegapunk, everything on Punk Hazard, everything that's come out of Punk Hazard. But on top of that, the ores situation comes from Thriller Bark, like the memories Thriller Bark, like I definitely see it coming through. The question is, how Oda decides to extend Vegapunk's like core information, because that's a huge story changing, directionally changing decision, whether he decides to have Vegapunk in his entirety continue past Egghead, or he decides to go the route of like not necessarily crippling him, but like limiting how much he can give us through some kind of plot device. So that's
it's
the
something
question
that
mark.
it needs to be like, right, so firstly, just off what you were saying, like in the cover story, so for people who haven't clocked like the cover stories and all that stuff, the idea, I'm pretty confident, is that like each of the member of Mads had the blueprints of life lineage factor, and each of them did something different with it, right? And this is another reason why the numbers are so sus in Wano, because Queen's version is actually the ice only, it's not the numbers are somewhere else and we don't know where they're from. But also, like Vegapunk, like all this mad stuff seems to cap with Vegapunk being in an ancient island somewhere with old technology. So I completely agree that like if you think about York having the Mother Flame, Atlas even said they changed faces. So there's some sort of weird stuff going on there with all the satellites and stuff. Vegapunk's just crazy amount of war technology he's made, and then you take all of that and add it to Punk Records. I personally think there is absolutely zero chance that isn't capped. There's no way that he is surviving or having his head, the top of his head chopped off or something like that, because that is just, for One Piece, way too much information to just get out there. So I think it's all going to get shut down.
I also think
completely.
Like I said, I think like the Mads that's going to come back to like the Thriller Bark with Dr. Hogback and all that stuff. You know what I mean? They're going to definitely bring all that back. So good stuff.
My thoughts is Vegapunk. I feel like now that we know, the last chapter is the most important thing in my opinion, was telling us like I think I'm more confident that Vegapunk leaves now than ever before, mainly because he gave Batman prep time. Like he gave the man infinite time, a whole night. Like that's more than enough for Vegapunk. He could clone himself. He can create other, like they fixed Atlas up in like minutes. Like they have an entire facility to take care of it. No one can enter. They've been at their own devices. So I would imagine that like he has had some prep, and I think this I think the easiest smart thing to do would be to just have himself be cloned, and then like, obviously maybe they know he's the one with the apple head, but maybe Vegapunk creates a bunch of apple heads or a bunch of different fruit heads or something like that. And then like to shout out Dax a little bit, like maybe he puts on an afro or something and they're like, oh, that's not Vegapunk. And then they just like peace out. It's like, who knows?
That's dope.
I think that to go back to some of the Thriller Bark ties that Eden was talking about earlier, and Par expanded on a little bit, is that I see Thriller Bark as, I mean, I see it as more of a microcosm of the new world that we do, in that we see, like that's the first information we really get about Big Mom with Lola, and then get
when you guys eat.
It's the first thing we.
I'll eat.
It's interesting that we
movie.
also see Kuma, who is related to.
Ube is having a birthday party, it sounds like.
I'm gonna go ahead and mute him real quick, but Yeah, it's I think that the tie-in with all of the specific Yonko that we got there for the first time, the first taste that we got of them, and then like getting like the Kuma bit at the end there, and Kuma is entering the fray again when it comes to significance to the story. And then there was also at the end of Thriller Bark, one of my favorite things that we, are obviously getting more significance to now is the dawn and the significance of the sun rising. And it was like a very impactful and significant event that at the end of Thriller Bark, we got to see there was peril and trepidation until obviously Moria was dealt with, and then the sun rising was like the dawn of the world, being what's mimicked there or foreshadowed there. There was even that guy whose like nameplate in Japanese means like good morning and things like that. There was so much significance to the sunrise there, and with what we heard from Odin and about his journal with the dawn of the world approaching and things like that. I think with that being the very last step of Thriller Bark, that's what we're approaching on, obviously. So I see Thriller Bark as a bit of a microcosm to everything in the new world so far. And I'm just trying to get Fritz on the bandwagon that Thriller Bark is top 3.
Ooh, never gonna happen.
Fritz is currently anime only, but he's watching and he's past Thriller Bark. I believe he's past the time skip as well.
Yeah, he just finished up Frishman Island, so he's on his way. He's definitely getting through his little journey there. But he had a lot of interesting takes on Thriller Bark while he was there, and me and him had a little bit of a heated discussion about. I will defend Thriller Bark any day, but I really do see a lot of significance with not just what's going on right now, but I think with what could be coming soon, based off of what we got in Thriller Bark, and I love it. And I think we'll probably get some more significance with Brooke coming shortly as well, because that was another thing we touched on at the end of Thriller Bark, and I can't wait for that. But that does make sense with the end of the story, like him meeting back up with Laboon. And I know Dak is a huge, like a fan of, that whole tie up and whatnot with, obviously some of the dreams of this
100%.
are going to have to come true. But that's one that I think Dak and me and a lot of the other community, people in the community are really looking forward to.
Yeah, I would want to see Brooke meeting Laboon before the One Piece. Like if I had to pick one panel for Oda to draw on my deathbed, that's what I'm picking.
This is actually a really good, this is a really good
Yeah.
segue into our next section. So basically, I mentioned earlier we do like a game show every week called Ask the Audience, and we thought like we'd take a bit of a segment just from that, a real simple one rather than a proper one, and it would just give a little bit of the people in chat, for example, just a real quick speed run of some quick thoughts. So basically, I'm going to ping these thoughts. The first question is going to tie to Dak because of what you was just saying. So I'll ask him first.
All right.
And then we'll just go Dak, Par, Sai, and we'll just fire some questions. And I warn you, they are pretty big questions. So don't worry that you can't give your full answer because eventually I'll buzz you out or someone will. You're lucky we're not in a normal VC or else the soundboard will be going off with, do you want the ring?
Yeah.
Doing all sorts of weird noises. So, right. So, Dak, do you think there's anything inside any particular island whale that's significant to the story?
Oh, I mean, come on. You know the answer to this. I mean, there's definitely. Well, I guess I should be specific because you said island whale.
Yeah.
So I want to be specific here. I think there's a good chance that an island whale is like holding laugh tail inside of it, but I wouldn't be shocked if it's a totally different type of whale at the same time. So I guess there's a little bit of an asterisk.
Interesting.
Because the thing for me is you think about the Moby Dick, right? Like Whitebeard's ship. Whitebeard was said to be the man closest to the One Piece. He was somewhat of a gatekeeper for even Roger getting there because he had to agree to let Odin join. Like Odin wanted to, but you know what I mean. Like Whitebeard was kind of a gatekeeper in that sense. And then if Whitebeard does have something to do with the man marked by flames or how the man marked by flames got that poneglyph, that's another way to do it. So just thinking about all those things, what if the whale holding the One Piece is also the same kind of whale that was on Whitebeard's ship? Now that and now the big reason why I like that more than anything is that whale was all white, right? That was a big thing in the Moby Dick story, was that this is like a weird whale, I guess you could say. I don't know how else to put it, but So like we look at island whales, which are like black usually, like they looks blue in the anime, but I'm pretty sure he's canonically black. Like the island whales are actually just black. They just have like a blue hue because of the just for the anime to look better, I guess. So you think about that, where like the island whales we've met are all black, and then the one that Whitebeard had was all white. And so then I'm thinking, well, now that Gear 5th, you know, like Joy Boy coming back coincided with him turning all white. What if that has something to do with the whale that's holding Laugh Tale inside of it? And maybe it could be a story where like Joy Boy befriended that whale strictly because they both like turned all white. Like the whale was maybe an outcast. Like, or what if it's an island whale that's like an albino island whale, and then he was an outcast because he looks so different.
That's true. I mean, like, is relevant to the story.
And then Joy Boy could also turn all white. And he's like, "Hey, you know, we can be friends. Like, we don't have to be
well, this is real.
Joy Boy's albino and can't be in the sun. Just
wait. Real question for Dax. What kind of whale is the island whale and Moby Dick's whale based off of? What kind of real whale is it?
Moby Dick is a sperm whale.
Right.
I'm allowed to say that.
I don't know what an island whale is based off of. But yeah, it is a sperm whale.
The sperm whales. Interesting.
Oda's
interesting, not the sperm whale.
Of course, Par brings that up.
Wait, hold on.
And he also asked the question, like, "Hey, what's the whale called?" He knew the answer, but he had to.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that. Have you guys not read Oda's SBSs? He makes these jokes all the time. I'm just saying, maybe that is super important. Like
both S's and SBS stand for sock. Like
well, the thing is, it's like there's so many animals in One Piece that Oda just kept like especially fish. He kept like a lot of the fish as the normal names, and then he changed it to island whale. Like we have a giant goldfish, island eater. He could have made that a different name. He's goldfish, but then for sperm whale, he changed it to island whale. And I kind of wonder. I was just like,
no. There's a reason why the goldfish is the goldfish. Is because like when the sad gets leaked, which makes the smile fruits, right? Then your goldfish turns black, and then it has the eyes from the lion, fighting bull, and the other fighting animal and stuff. So that's relevant. Don't doubt Oda. Like the color.
No, that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying that it seems intentional that I think he wants to like. But then imagine this, like when he's getting the story out, like he can't highlight a sperm whale. Like that'd be like, you know.
That's true.
He has to. Oda's way is to put like a cover over it, and then later on, it's like we realize, like, man, the Laugh Tale was inside of a sperm whale. Like that's
why Roger laughed.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just before the stream, Pa was telling us that his spirit animal is a sperm whale. So I'm not sure.
That's why he laughed.
But like,
I just want to point out, my point was very tame. You all took so many. I'm here referencing SBS's the story. You guys are putting agendas, namely Dax. I'm trying to help him out. I'm like, he was just like, oh, he knew the answer. He knew, and I was just like, yeah, because the SBS is Oda's like making balls and dick jokes all the time. So.
But you did hear it. Like if you ask Dak a question about whales, you're gonna get a free theory. So make sure you like repost the stream everywhere.
100%.
Dak's like giving the spice.
He could have went going.
You've also been room. Yeah, you've never seen Laboon and me in the same room.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, Daku like. Whale sake. Next, we got Sai basically. Do you think that the hole in Leisure is the same as Eni's lobby? Do you reckon they're made by the same place?
I mean, it's gotta be. It's gotta be the same hole. Like it looks exactly the same.
Such low-hanging fruit question.
Yeah. No way to show it. There's no like. I would be shocked if it wasn't made by the same thing. I think the one thing that I would love to see though is I'd love to see a different weapon, ancient weapon, destroy an island and make a hole like that, right? Because, you know, Uranus, Pluton, yeah, sure, they could probably do that. But as far as Shirahoshi, though, like, I want to see how the Sea Kings destroy an island. If that's like a world-ending power, I want to see the Sea Kings do something. Because I'm just imagining giant fish flopping on land, and it's like, yeah, they're big, but, like, I don't know if I'd be, like, scared of that, right?
I mean, the only thing I can think is like they go and chomp, like, because every island's like connected to the like under the sea, like to the actual planet, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess they could go and like chomp, like smash their heads, kind of like Laboon does, or just take a bite out of it and like make the island not connected so it just sinks.
Or just mix their DNA.
That's the only thing I could think of.
Mix their DNA with a human, you might get Poseidon. Maybe that's how it's done. But right, next question. Parvision. What's the capital of Mongolia?
What?
Mongolia part. Come on.
on, dude.
I don't know. What?
5, 4, 3,
it starts with a U or something.
Right, get
One.
this dude out of here again. Like,
Starts
no,
with
no,
a
no.
U or something. Come on.
Yeah.
So who gets
He doesn't
who
like
gets
Mongolia.
Pluton?
Here
Who
first.
gets
wanted to have
Pluton?
criticism
Any
for all the
Mongolian
questions
viewer
you
doesn't like
had.
you.
You come up
It
with
was-
48 questions for a group of 10 people to answer.
He was clearly in favor for the Great War.
Wait, was I close though? Because I feel like there's a U there, right?
It's Ulaanbaatar. Just
Oh,
just
so I
you
was
do know.
right.
Yeah, you were like, yeah. I didn't want to
One letter
too
right.
much, but yeah.
Hey,
no,
I
one
mean,
letter right.
hey,
It's
that's
the
more
theorist.
than.
Ours
Yeah,
playing
yeah.
Hangman. Is there a G in there?
I got the first letter. I
Yeah,
look
you
at
got it right.
Yeah,
when would I need to know Mongolia? I'm not planning on going there. So when I scan a globe,
Whoa,
I just
whoa, whoa,
remembered
whoa,
that the
whoa.
You
capital
don't want to go
has
to
a U.
Mongolia?
place.
Why? They
I'm sure
invested
it's a
at least
lovely place.
yeah, they invested at least $5 billion into tourism this year.
So you
really
want to
good
go?
food.
Second.
Wait, have we
It's
said
a
the
relevant
capital of
topic.
Mongolia yet?
Yeah, Ulaanbaatar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
okay.
it starts
It's
with
that
a
word
U.
that sounds like gobbledygook.
Dax. I know it.
Well,
Okay,
funny
cool.
thing,
Right.
guys,
No, part.
that capital in French sounds just like the word for bastard. So in French, it has a very funny reaction from.
Wow.
Yeah.
And in all around of Asia, we all just laugh at Mongolia. So there's also
Part,
that.
who gets Pluton?
Who
Oh,
gets
I'm
Pluton?
lagging out.
Daimon.
Yeah.
Mm.
Vegapunk.
knows.
Wait, what? What was that?
I said Gaimon for sure.
Oh, yeah, that's see. This is what I mean. So Dax got the question: will there be something inside of a whale? I got this question, and then you asked, "Are these two holes the same holes?" We need the hole expert on this. That was crazy.
If I know anything about One Piece, it's holes, Par. Come on,
Par.
We need-
Whoa.
I'm the
we
hole
need a-
guy.
Masco.
Say
We
something
need
real
a
quick.
whole
calm
review.
down.
You are a father. If anyone is, it's you.
Whoa.
Well, I mean,
If anything,
Sai
Par
is-
went too far down the hole.
Sai is married as well.
Hey, I'm not
Goodness
expecting
gracious.
kids.
Sai's
from
Sai
Mar.
married.
would.
He doesn't
All I
have
know is
kids.
Sai would go into the hole to find me if I was in the hole, right?
Ooh,
No.
Geez.
How
That's
deep is the
beautiful.
hole?
But I'd send you a
Whitebeard would say
postcard,
it's pretty
Par.
deep. No, Ace.
That was beautiful.
Okay, cool. Right. We'll do a couple more. We'll get them out of the way. So, Dak, like, give us your piece on Man Marked by Flames. We know you got it ready.
Wait. Hold on. Did Par answer the question?
He didn't.
No, he
but
did. He avoided it.
He was voted off the island.
Yeah,
Long
he
ago.
always
No,
he
no,
always
go
like
on,
tries to
Par, just say
away.
Blackbeard. Just say the smart answer and say Blackbeard.
The right answer.
What was my question? What was my question? The Man Marked by Flames. Oh, I'm glad you asked me this one and not Par. I think it's definitely Mass Deuce. I'm trying to think of like a quick way to explain it, but I guess going back to
who is the Mass Deuce for people that like the sensible people that don't watch filler in the world.
So I guess first off, Mass Deuce was Ace's right hand man, like basically his Zorro, you could say. It was like his first mate and everything. And the thing about Mass Deuce that's really important is that he built Ace's ship, like that little boat that you see Ace, like that he's like powered with his fire. Like he visited Wano and used it and whatever. Like we've seen it a few times. It's called the Striker. Well, that was built by Mask Deuce, and he built it from scratch on an island with like random parts. And then he also burned that wood before he used it because he knew that burning it and charring the outside made it stronger. So when we hear about the Man Marked by Flames having an all-black ship, it's like literally from day one of his journey with Ace, he knew that burning ships and making them black made it stronger. And then, long story short, he ended up, joining Whitebeard along with Ace. He ended up being one of Whitebeard's doctors. He treated one of Whitebeard's burn scars, the only burn scar he ever got from Ace, actually.
It's true.
And then basically Deuce and like in the Ace novels, they talk about how like Deuce learned that if Whitebeard would ever die, his territories would be in danger, like they would get attacked and ransacked and everything. So long story short, Deuce could be a perfect person to like realize, okay, hey, that poneglyph needs to move now that Whitebeard's dead. And maybe Whitebeard moved it before he died because he thought of the same thing, or maybe Deuce just went down there and I don't know. There's a lot of different ways it could tie together, but it's just Deuce.
Charged.
What,
he is the Man Marked by Flames.
Yeah, like he has connections to all sorts of flames, whether it's Ace, whether it's Whitebeard, like treating that burn scar, like I said, or they were chased by Isuka the Marine, who also had a burn scar on her hand. So like literally everyone around this guy was connected to fire. And then he also wrote the Ace novel and like in the world of One Piece and left it at Ace's grave at Sphinx Island, and that's the last time we saw him. And then he was like leaving because he has Ace's flame dial, and it was like he was wanting to report to Morgan's on Luffy and Sabo's activities. So it's like, okay, we know he's coming back in the story at some point. Like he's out in the world right now. He was actually in the New World, very close to where Luffy is right now. Last time we saw him, he burned ships already and all that. So yeah, I think it's Mass Deuce.
Spicy.
Interesting.
Master
Very
D.
spicy. Yeah, the big D. Yeah. Sai. So basically, do you think the poles were ever shifted?
The pole shift theory, I like that a lot. I don't pay too much
I'm
attention
not talking
to
about
it.
the poles that Par would imply.
Yeah, not Par's poles. Yeah, not the Vasco poles.
Yeah,
the pole shift theory,
yeah.
I think it's getting some points here or there, especially with the latest chapter. As far as if I believe it yet, I don't. I'm not a big like theory guy.
I completely agree with that.
I simply take what I get.
It's looking maybe possible. Yeah. Fair.
But as far as the man marked by flames, I like the Mass Deuce question.
Okay, cool. Next time, the next stream that you're on, we'll make sure to make them all about man marked by flames for you, boy.
Yeah, the man marked by flames will make
except for Par. Except for Par.
Don't ask Par that
about it. But
Vasco, questions for Par. So Par, lastly, how old is Dr. Tsukimi, do you think? Like,
how old is he?
Oh, yeah, dude. Come on, man.
Yeah, I mean,
he's
probably like 80 or something.
He's dead now, isn't he?
You think?
Yeah,
he's very dead. Yeah, he choked on the ham Sammy.
Yeah, you have to be kind of old to die from a dango. You know?
Way to go out.
Do you think that's kind of an L, considering how smart he was? Apparently, he just dies.
Definitely an L.
It's a huge L. Vegapunk would have created another body.
220
all he had to do was program. All he had to do was program the Heimlich maneuver into his automata, and he would have been good. So
the arms were too short. It was an oversight. Yeah, engineering oversight.
Yeah.
Unless my theory is right that Dr. Tsukimi has a tie to the moon, which is why he was personally affected by the moon's explosion.
So if he has a tie to the moon, how old would that make him? If he's got technology that are on the moon from very long ago, probably.
He's from very long ago.
Story?
He's not from current time. We know that.
Very long ago.
Yeah. He has to be from a long time ago because he couldn't possibly be from our timeline. That's impossible because he was said to be on Karakuri Island, and Karakuri Island's a frozen wasteland since Vegapunk was a child. So Dr. Tsukimi at minimum has to be way beyond Vegapunk. So part of that video is saying that like that video and another one is basically just like Dr. Tsukimi either is tied to the moon because like how personally affected he was, but then also the reality being that like the automata existed on the moon and on Earth, and he said like in his cover story the automatas were born there on Karakuri Island. So then you have to ask yourself, wait, but if we think that the moon's ones came first, then that wouldn't make sense. So he had to have gotten the blueprints or shared, or it could be similar to like what Chopper was saying when he heard about Punk Records. He was like, wait, so I could like access research from across the world from this central point. And like I feel like that would solve that issue so easily if there was like some kind of like Punk record that existed back then. And so like again, like you can interpret what Enel found on the moon in various ways, where it's like maybe the original people were from Earth and they left to the moon, or the moon people, they left originally to the Earth. But like it can honestly go either ways. I've seen arguments for either way, but you'd still need to solve for how Tsukimi has it. The automata was born there, meaning he created it. And then there's also like old automata on the moon that are completely different because those have wings. So, and then that goes in line with the question of, well, if Dr. Tsukimi is from a long, long time ago, then the automata that we saw that were locked up in Burka that Anel found, that is our current time. So then we have to wonder, are those automatas actually before Dr. Tsukimi's, or were they after Dr. Tsukimi's? So there's a whole nuance to that conversation as well. But yeah,
I like that his name actually means moon viewing as well too. I think that was pretty funny.
Yeah. So that's why I was saying
Watcher,
like, that's what I was saying in my
his name
Records
goes to the
video.
Tsukimi Dango festival. Sorry, but
Yeah.
his name means something really important. Yeah.
So like the dongle balls there too, but like the in the video it was kind of like all the satellites have like basically a reference to the moon in their names, or like a different reference. And I was saying like maybe Dr. Tsukimi having a moon reference in his name, maybe there were other scientists at the time, and so Dr. Tsukimi was the moon watcher referencing
the most prevalent
moon.
would be the clans of Wano, every clan of Wano except for one, which is the Kurozumi. Every single one is a their name has moon in it. So yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, they've got a symbol that represents sort of like looks like 8 moons around the sun, or 8 circles bringing in a bigger circle. You could say whatever. So I do agree that like, I mean, potentially, I'm just gonna put it out there. He might have even come from the moon maybe 1,000 years ago and was dropped here to like help. It wouldn't surprise me because we saw him see an explosion and choke on the food. So maybe he was on the moon, or someone was on the moon originally, and they saw an explosion on Earth, and they were like, right, we'll go help them. But yeah, I'll hand it over to Vex anyway.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, chat is just so good, and we've got almost 90 in the chat and almost 90 likes. You guys are wonderful.
Hey,
Straw Hat
100
Lucas.
people live. Let's do it.
So yeah, Straw Hat Lucas, the helmsman of the last arc, who wanted to be here. He's here in spirit and in the chat with all of us.
Lucas.
He wanted me to mention if we could shift the subject a little bit, possibly closer to back to Egghead, but also maybe with the same Kuzan vibes we were working with earlier. I know that Cube and I were also on this same little bit, but what do you guys think of the loyalty of Kizaru and
yes,
that
yes.
last panel that we got of him specifically, where he was like, you know, I'm just a cog in the machine. Like that was cold. And me and Cube were cooking almost over a month ago now at this point, thinking that I don't fully believe Kizaru is showing us everything. So Cube, do you want to go ahead and like spit a little bit on that real quick?
So okay, it's one of my longest agenda ever since the end of Wano, which I've been saying this. I think, and I had to go back at the whole fight when they mentioned it, and they didn't mention that Kuzan retired, like he quit being a Marine, or that's actually before. So for me, is this Kizaru is the traitor of the world government. Like he is the one who has the most chance to kill Luffy every time. Every time it's in Marineford, he showed to shoot the key, and just for me, I get vibes. And if he's as control over his emotion as it is, it would make perfect sense, you know. The lapdog being actually the true traitor for the among the Marines, the admirals.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think there's just a little like I hope that we get a good fleshing out of like the backstory for Kuzan, obviously, but really, especially with him coming into the fold in Egghead right now, I need to see a little bit more from Kuzan. And
yeah.
I've been thinking for quite a while now, even since before Egghead, I was just like, I don't fully believe, like, I think that like if there is a traitor amongst you know, the admirals, I'd be more inclined to think, just based off of my own headcanon, I guess, but like I wanted to see where you guys are kind of thinking about it, and where our guests, you know, heads are at.
I'll add an extra point. It's also when we discovered that, you know, those stuff like the mystery around the Iron Giant, the way Vegapunk described it. Well, if you Google online, one of those like quotes of how they describe those kind of stuff in our real world was using science to solve uncertainty. And if you look at the data book of Kizaru, he was nicknamed because of the lack of information of his justice to have uncertain justice, which I found very interesting, that his sense of justice seems to connect something in philosophy and what is based off the Iron Giant. So like this, you know, you've got all the spices.
Interesting. Wait, so you guys think that Kizaru's gonna backstab Saturn here? Like he kills Saturn? Is he like a, because he's the light fruit, like is he a sun god fanboy? Is that something in the cards, or like what's the what's the
think that
payoff here on Egghead?
like if Kizaru is to go into action here, I think it might even be in cahoots with Saturn. And we have gotten information, cryptically from Oda in the past that some of the Gorosei might not have the same agenda as the rest or as IMU. And that this was something that I was bouncing back and forth with Cube a while ago, and we've molded over a lot. And it would be really interesting to me because Nosjuro is painted as the Gorosei with no facial hair, with no gun that he pulled in the throne room, with no black suit or anything like that. And he's kind of like the one who you would think, like, if you had to pick one of these guys to be a traitor, like people might like pick him as. I think that's a red herring. And like if there is a traitor in the Gorosei, I think it would be really interesting if it was Saturn, and if the thing that shook the world is that like the Grand Fleet basically recruited a Gorosei and an admiral. Like how crazy would that be? And I don't know, I don't have like full receipts for it, but I just think that it would be amazing, like absolutely something that would shake the world if it hit newspapers.
Groundbreaking stuff.
Yeah.
Ground shattering.
The Saturn being also a traitor, or like the plot twist of Saturn comes from Vexus, which I like. It would be the one plot twist that no one's thinking about. Not him dying, not him like just retreating, him leaving on the Straw Hat ship at the end of Egghead, which is Vexus. Interesting agenda. I like a lot.
I wonder how Sai likes the all of his favorite characters leaving the Marines. Lucci's out of a job. Kizaru would be leaving.
I'm a huge fan of the Marines and world government splitting up by the end of the series, or at least like in the final arc. I don't think Akainu's going to be doing like the Gorosei's dirty work. Same with Kizaru, Fujitora, and the rest of them. I feel like there's going to be some separation there. Like, not like they joined the Revs, but maybe they just realize that upper management isn't really the shit, so they start doing something about it. And who knows, maybe Kizaru does backstab Saint Saturn. Maybe once he realizes that he's on the losing side, he's like, you know what, we'll just we'll let this old guy go.
What if Kizaru just cares about money, right? Because he talked about losses here. So like when Saturn makes a decision like that unbalances the balance sheet, he's just like, you're too poor for this.
He whips out the wallet, starts counting his cash. Like, I don't know if we can do this. Yeah, the budget. Who has the most Zaza? I'll go with them.
Oh, yeah. I think that theory is spicy, but I'm more leaning towards just like the simple fact, like I think Kizaru is gonna let maybe the Straw Hats go or something like that, or Sentomaru or Vegapunk. Maybe not fully betray the world government, but like let them slide, kind of like how Kiji did, with Nico Robin. I think that I'm more leaning towards that, but that theory is very spicy though, for sure.
I just want to quickly jump in and say so we didn't explain at the beginning, but like some of us will be dropping out, some of us will be staying here for a little while, and chat's welcome to chill for as long as you want. The other guys don't know this yet, but basically Brago and maybe a couple of others will be wanting to join in to speak to these guys as well, but it won't be for an hour or two. So these guys don't have to stay, they know that, but like chat, you're welcome to stay. We can, we'll jump in the Discord server, and if there's any links or anything. Okay.
No, I'm gonna stay for a little bit. I was gonna ask if there was any like specific questions you had, because I'm gonna head out in a little bit.
You're welcome to jump out and rejoin, or like you're welcome to jump out permanently. There's no pressure, you know how it is at
I'll let you know.
But the questions though, I'll give you another. Oh yeah, let Dill fire the question, then we'll bring Vex in.
Is Enel going to come back into the story, and if so, what is his return plan?
Ooh, yeah. That's a hard one. I feel like the reason why Enel comes back is because Oda likes pre-time skip a lot. Like all the characters he took time to design, they're gonna come back. Enel's one of them. As far as like his role and why and who, I think it's gonna be like what does the moon have that like we don't have on Earth? Like that would be the easiest way to like figure things out. And it's like there's that sense of history that like, hey, maybe that history is Void Century, right? Like that's a good piece of missing information that maybe people on the Earth don't even know. Maybe there's a poneglyph there. Like there, we don't necessarily know, like a regular poneglyph, not like obviously not a road poneglyph, but the point being is like, if it were like historical stuff, I feel like that would be the easiest reason for Nell to come back. I don't think he comes back necessarily for power. I as far as like there's two roads Oda's can go with, but like I recently thought about it. I was like, bringing back a Nell would be so counterproductive for like the powers in the verse, I guess, because there's already so many insane ones. But now that Oda's bringing like Vegapunk, who's bringing like real science and what is capable of real science, it'd be really weird to have Enel and Vegapunk in the same story, and then Enel just uses it it'd be like Kid, like Kid like uses the magnetic fruit, but it's not like how most people even baseline think of magnetism. So for Enel, like the electricity stuff, I feel like it would go the way of Caesar, right? Like Caesar is the gas route, all gases, which is basically everything. But then Oda kind of put him in a box because he's a chemist, and so he's just like, okay, I only like making poison gas and gases that like debilitate people, right? So that's like how Oda limited Caesar, even though his introduction was sucking out the air and creating a vacuum, which is kind of like just insane as an ability. And like, yeah, like Caesar could do that stuff, and that is so wild because it's like, imagine Onigashima, and then like Caesar could like solo knock out every single person just by taking out the air. Yeah, the top tiers could like hockey through all that stuff or whatever, but at the end of the day, like Enel's on that same rung where it's like bringing back him like it would need to be for the moon, not necessarily for Enel, or the automata, right? Like it might be that like the automata have like an insane role where they're like the vessels that people had, and so like there's a cool storyline where it's like maybe a bunch of characters can't help out, but then they inhabit the automatas. Maybe the Tantatas are already really strong, but like maybe there's some world like that where the automatas are kind of like vessels, avatars, I guess, for like someone to take hold of. So I think if Enel comes back, it's not necessarily for Enel, unless Oda makes it so that like Enel's power is like the in-between of the ancient weapon or ancient version of what the energy source is and what Vegapunk created as a mother flame, and then in between that is Enel. So like Enel's like a substitute. Like in a movie situation, it's like they have mother flame and then they need to use it, and then some kind of plot creates the reason that they had to waste it or sacrifice it, and then Enel is like, don't worry, I got this, and then he steps in, and then he goes like, he like maxes out his entire potential to do that and help out the cause, and that would be a way to like limit him in the story, but then also have him in full. So that's kind of where I see it. I feel like we won't get like super cool Enel, because super cool Enel is just like broken. Like if he learns hockey, he should, like, I feel like he would be a conqueror. If Oda gives him armament and all that stuff, then like then he's just he's baseline fighting the admirals, and then that's just disgusting.
I want him to join Cross Guild, man. I want him to join Cross Guild, but we know he won't.
The way that I see it is that like he already knows like observation hockey, but he didn't really know it the way that the Blue Sea folk knew it and whatnot. And I think it would be interesting if he did the same thing with the ancient technology, is that he was familiarized in his own little cone of influence, but he didn't know the greater applications that maybe Vegapunk could open his eyes to. I think that it'd be really interesting if he did show up. Simply because of also the symbolism that like the moon reflects the light from the sun and things like that, and that I don't know, with the automata specifically, they have a striking resemblance to Chopper, and we might get like a bit with the Hito no Mi that maybe the original humans were automata in the first place, and
they got some Tantata vibes to them too, honestly. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. The only I see like there is a route I didn't talk about this one was with like Enel coming back, yeah, he's powerful, whatever. And the other route is Oda could just like completely like there's a few characters, yes, that like Luffy, Kaido, right? They just like go beyond imagination, especially if they get Kaido gets reintroduced. But I would imagine like Emu, Blackbeard, like they have like these primordial, like reality breaking things. If Oda goes the way that more of the end cast is able to interact with that and like Enel, then Enel would be allowed to be there. Like let's say like right now we still don't know if we're going the 4 god route or we're going moon god, sun god, or Luffy's just the only god and then there's a void god, right, in Emu. But if there's 4 gods like forest, rain, earth, right, then that implies we're getting more and more god tier, not just in title but also power. And then I could see a world where Enel can exist without being so absurd, because then there's all the other people that balance the thing. But that's a question up for like we'll see by the end of Egghead and probably the next arc, like this precipice of power that Oda's setting up. Because yes, we can go, like it makes sense that we're going there. Luffy's already there, but how many people does Oda want to bring along that way? That's
Yeah.
we won't ever really know.
Do you guys want there to be like him to like explain more of the gods, or do you guys don't care?
I think that it would be really interesting if we got more than what we're given, because right now it's very vague and it's left to interpretation, and like parts
Yeah.
of there could be like especially with like the Nefertari, like like I think that's a reference to Nefertiti, who united like Egypt under like a monotheistic like view and things like that, versus like a pantheon type of view, like the 4 gods and gods we have only heard of in passing. Like Hyogoro brought up like a fire god, and Big Mom had a name that was like Tenjin, the lightning god, and things like that. And I think that Oda he's referred to Shintoism a lot in his writing and things like that. Like the voice of all things is directly kind of related to that, and a part of that is, I think it's called like the Koto Matsukane, which is like the countless kami. Like there's infinite gods. There's gods within everything within the world, and I think that would be kind of cool as a tie-in to us figuring out more about the gods in One Piece, but also the voice of all things, which we have to get more answers on all this stuff eventually, right?
Right.
But I did also want to shout out to the Discord that Den was mentioning earlier. If you guys are wanting to hop in and join in there, we do a lot of Ask the Audience game shows every single week or two.
Yeah.
We're planning a lot more collabs like this, the News Coup chapter reviews, and we're going to be doing a anime event next week as well on the Saturday. We've also got TLA D&D. If you wanted to be a part of your own One Piece D&D campaign, we need some DMs and we need some players. You can hop in, grab the D&D nerd role, and we definitely go on some adventures. We have Group 8 with SSJ8 Cody going live tomorrow night, I believe at 8 or 8:30 EST. Shout out to SSJ8 Cody, a big friend of the channel. And Straw Hat Lucas actually had an interview with him not too long ago. We have an interview coming up with our own Captain Smokey, Mr. Two Blunts here, coming up as well. Lots of fun stuff. Definitely join in on the Discord and get rolled up in there. And so you can see a lot more spice coming from the TLA community. We are so glad to have the guests here again with us. And I wanted to see maybe if Cube had another question for Par or Dak or Sai while we still have you guys.
Actually, yes. Well, actually, I have a follow-up to what Parvajan said. And then I do have a question that goes back to the East Blue. So the first part is, because you brought up NL, and I would like everyone's thought on it. Do you think that we will get how he had so much information? My headcanon is, I think, whatever his homeland Burka is, I think there's like some crazy type of poneglyph information. Because he had a lot of knowledge for pre-time skip stuff, you know what I mean? The stuff he was talking about. Even his whole way he uses the food. There's a lot of like Buddha like beings, you know what I mean? Religion wise. So that's my first question.
Sorry, what was this? Could you repeat that ending?
But so basically I'm saying that, do you guys think we might get more lore about Burka? Because I feel like that's where NL got all of his knowledge, and it feels like it's it must have been a lot of lores.
Yeah, Burka for sure.
think IMU is a bird. I don't know. That's my headcanon for sure.
Yeah, I think Burka
That's
just
crazy.
makes sense. Namely because the moon, it's so important for weather, and then you have the city there, and then the other part that's important to weather are like clouds, and then you have Weatheria, which is headed by another Birkin, and then you have like what Anel was doing. It's like weather stuff. I feel like Burka weather, like One Piece is so like there's so much crazy weather, so I would imagine that like by the end of it, we get something like why the storms show up, like who created the insanity that is One Piece. Burka's probably really, really up there. But yeah, I just wanted to I gotta head out, so I just wanted to say thank you guys for having this. I might be able to come back later, depends how later you guys plan on having this, but definitely have to go take care of a few things. So thank you guys again.
Hit me up by DMs because I might have some French stuff on some of the stuff you're talking about.
Ooh, all right,
we'll do. And I know you like the French lore, so
yeah,
we should link up soon.
Thank you for coming, my dude. Thank you.
No, thank you guys, and
Kitty likes it too. Thank you very much.
Cubit,
everyone go drop some subs on Par. Go follow him on Twitch. Go follow him on Twitter.
Go.
My bad. Go follow him on X. Sorry, guys.
On X.
You can find him at Vasco Shot on all those platforms.
Yeah. You see the rent free
because of that.
I don't
you
even
heard
have
some
to pay
Vasco
rent.
Shot
That's
Dojinshi
crazy.
dropped.
That's crazy. Vasco and Par living rent free in all these guys' heads. But no, thank you guys for having this, and definitely all my subs, definitely drop a sub here. And they're they're doing, the last arc is doing a lot of things that I wish I had the time for, but they are able to do because they're community-oriented people, but then also they split up the onus across an entire crew, which I appreciate because that allows them to reach out to the community, do community events, have like a bunch of creators on at the same time regularly. The D&D stuff, is definitely a hype thing. I love that there's so much D&D stuff happening, even though like I don't particularly play a lot of D&D. I definitely enjoyed it the one time I did. Par
is going to be a guest appearance in group 2. He's going to be one of the hidden characters. You'll have to listen for his voice.
Yeah, you'll have to guess.
Listen for the voice. He's gonna be the furry. He loves playing as furries with big noses.
What do you?
Nice.
Wait, why are you throwing in the furry side? There's a lot I could say about Mr. Prosthetic Toe Licker over here. All right, buddy.
Let's see it was a curiosity that every guy has.
Yo, the chat is gonna go wild. Chat is probably going wild.
Yeah, this is
the curiosity that every growing man has.
Oh yeah.
And,
then it was prosthetic toe licking. No, we're gonna have to cut it there.
Yes.
So
just
listen,
like
guys.
Ratatouille, it's an acquired taste.
Listen, all I gotta say is
a man of culture.
Thank you.
I live rent free in their heads, but they don't live rent free in mine.
Just
and
like how Vasco
all the other
Shot lives
things
in your head.
And the thing is, with all that you guys do last arc, thank you guys for having me. A lot of fun conversations. I will remember Mongolia's capital for sure. I really want to know what square root you were gonna ask me for, but that we'll save that for the next collab. So thank you guys. I'm gonna head out. Peace out. And thank you, chat. Thank you, community. Everyone.
Yeah.
Peace out.
Before he pops off, he's got to see his own face staring back at him.
Yo, oh yeah, the two people with the giveaway, Dax and Dill, they both have that's so funny. Oh man.
Dax has a custom one.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, mine's limited edition.
I'll have to do some markups to it. I'll put TLA right across your forehead right there.
Go for it. Do it. Do whatever you need. All right. Peace out, guys. Thank you for having this again.
Appreciate
you later, Par. Have a good one.
You too.
Appreciate it, man.
He thinks it's a joke.
Real quick. Just because, so I was doing a little research in the background while you were talking about Burka, and I just want to spit something real quick because this may be the birth of a theory right here on stream. I don't know if maybe somebody said this before and I just haven't heard it, but has anyone thought about Burka being God Valley? Because Burka was destroyed.
Fact.
Burka doesn't exist. It got blown up. It's gone. And that like Enel. And here's the thing, Enel is 39 years old. 1 year older than God Valley.
And
so was he born in Burka and then it blown up, and then that's like part of why he's trying to blow up the rest of the places, is like he was basically mimicking what happened at Burka / God Valley.
Right.
And now in just 2 seconds, then everyone respond however, but and then tying it all back to the how Enel's gonna come back in the story question. This is something I was thinking before, and while Par was talking, I just kind of all connected the thoughts at once. But like so Enel's on the moon now, and we saw that like the moon needed electricity to power it. So my thoughts have always been that, oh, Enel's just gonna power like do whatever they were doing in the past with the moon, which like maybe the moon was like a spaceship, maybe I don't like who knows exactly what it was for, because there's also those space pirates like excavating and like doing stuff on the moon. So it's like basically, what if he powers it to be an actual spaceship, like the ship he made to go there that was all gold and everything, the Arc Maxim?
Yeah.
Like, what if he is now elevating that to a whole other degree and just like powering that entire planet to be a ship? Because that's maybe what it used to be, right? Because what I've always thought was the reason they needed to go to the Earth anyway was because the past user of the lightning fruit died, and so they didn't have the endless power anymore to power the ship. So they had to like park the moon where it was and go to the moon because they just couldn't do, or they go to the Earth because they didn't have the power source anymore to power the moon. But now that's what Enel is for. So maybe he's been like fixing up like or using the automata to fix up the moon this whole time, and so that's when he's going to come back in whenever he's ready to like use the moon. And then going back to his like original plan, like it's not like when he lost to Luffy he had some like meaningful moment of like, oh, I was wrong, I shouldn't have been doing this. Like that never happened, right? He's still like a terrible person,
right,
in all sense of the word. So I think it could be that he just wants to destroy the whole planet next time instead of Skypiea, and he's going to try to use the moon to do that. And then if he does that, that ties right back to the whole idea of like if Burka was God Valley, that like it got destroyed, it ruined his homeland, so he's like destroying the other people's homeland in return.
Well,
a lot of potential.
I like I said, I had headcanon that IMU is a Birkin, so that would be dope if she like the first target she ever hit was her home island. That'd be beautiful. That'd be sick.
Just before we
stated that Enel ate his devil fruit, and this like the same instances that he ate his devil fruit, he destroyed Burka. So it wasn't like he sat there trained with the fruit.
Like we don't even know how. Like I know it's a
he
big like
and just
satellite, hard to miss, but we don't know how he knew how to go there or anything. Like he just knew he'd breathe without anything. He can go there topless. So yeah, there's some weird stuff. But quickly before we move on, I was going to say, like, huge love to Par. Make sure you do sub to him because he's obviously like an absolute OG at this point, and like everything he was saying about TLA, like he didn't have to say that. No, like like he's doing his own thing. So yeah, big massive love to him for like coming by and just supporting. Like as he said, we do like we're community sort of heads rather than like content heads particularly. But yeah, big love for him for coming by, and obviously for you two for being here as well. Like definitely, and for all the others that are here and everyone in chat and everyone on the whole planet probably. But yeah, you're all pretty cool.
No, thanks for having me, man. Like I said, this is my first experience with like a big group of people who just love One Piece, so I really enjoy it.
Nice.
I definitely love the vibe here.
That's good to hear.
And like I said, I don't collab often, so like coming here, it's like, oh, it's pretty cool. I like it.
It's what I was about to say. Like now with like the live action and with the animation we've just seen and with where the story's going, and how quick it's moving, like things are blowing up pretty quick. And we do seem to have the situation where like smaller communities and bigger communities are starting to really come together and just like vibe and not necessarily push any big agendas. So I'm down. Obviously you're welcome on any time.
Yeah. And
it's hard finding people who also have the Enel agenda.
The love for One Piece really, so always
I was gonna say, Sai, actually this is a question I was gonna ask later on, but it's more specific to you. Obviously, as you know, the One Piece community with spoilers is very, it's how it is chaotic. First of all, I'm gonna give you my respect because I love watching your content, and the way you do stuff is like bravo, because it's not easy. And I actually want to curious, like, can you give us some like insights, the stuff you learn, on the way you do stuff with spoilers? Because it's very interesting. Because every week I'm saying, Dan, Sai is doing it good. Doesn't spoil anyone.
You, I appreciate
honestly.
that.
Yeah, honestly.
I mean, like I said, I'm no different from anybody else. I'm just a guy with a camera. Like when I started YouTube, it was never for spoilers or One Piece. I was doing sock reviews.
Chip, right? It was Chip, right?
Yeah.
I was like, that's dope. Go it.
Self-made man.
Yeah. When I did spoilers, it was such a weird thing because I've always looked up spoilers before One Piece. So it was strange coming into a series and seeing that people didn't like spoilers. You know, that's when I woke up my eyes and I was like, oh wait, not everybody likes to be spoiled. So I started reeling back the thumbnails. My thumbnails aren't spoilery titles. It's like a vague title. Yeah, it's kind of clickbaity, but I mean, it's either that or like, hey, what's in the chapter? But as far as spoilers go, like the whole community is so interesting because there's so many layers to it, right? You got people who get the digital versions, the physical versions. You have people who get it who don't want to leak it right away, so they give you hints. They start dropping like little spoiler bullet points about it. It's such an interesting community inside of One Piece that not a lot of people experience, and it's cool that you see the ride for it. Like for this chapter specifically, it's like so strange how they do it because we're not supposed to get a chapter this week, right? But WSJ, they send out the chapter in advance. Apparently, they already have the chapter. Like, there's leakers out there who have chapter 1090, and they're slowly, giving us hints about what is taking place there. And it's like, damn, it's such a strange community to be a part of. But it's cool seeing that there's so many like-minded people who they see spoilers, and it doesn't necessarily ruin the story for them. For some people, it makes it better. For some, it makes it worse. It's not for everybody. But
I think, just touching on what you were saying, like if you do something weekly for 20 odd years, 27 years, 28 years, then you do inevitably you're gonna generate this culture around people waiting for stuff, and it's just in that I know some people hate it and stuff like that, but as long as with you, for example, as you were saying, you've done stuff that you've posted some thumbnails that you wouldn't maybe post now, and then that gives you this perfect experience to know what is okay, because ultimately I think we all know what's okay. It's just when you've been around making content for so long, you just start to become depersonalized. It's hard to remember all this information and all these images all the time. So yeah, I think it just is a part of it, and people just got to be prepared. And it sucks if you do get spoiled and you didn't want to be, but it is what it is. It's just a story, and Oda's still going to bring the spice no matter what happens.
I agree. No, I'll say this because what I like about spoilers, and I won't lie, is the best example is the chapter Will of O'Hara, where, with all the different versions we had, the one thing that kept staying is whenever Vegapunk talked about Clover, he said he's bringing flowers. And the only time we've gotten a person who has a weird hairstyle similar to Clover, talks about a crazy adventure, it was interested in flower, was Dr. Hyliuk. So, and you realize Hyliuk, the L-U-K at the end, is Japanese for luck. And Clover, we all know the story of the 4-leaf clover. So yeah, that's why I also like spoilers, because sometimes which word was supposed to stay. Which wasn't.
Yeah. Another thing I really enjoy is that since, obviously it's not the full chapter, but since we get spoilers early, it gives us an extra chance to look at the chapter and kind of talk as a community about what's happening, what theories are popping up now. And then as the chapter releases, we get more and more information about it. And you kind of start looking at the chapter a different way. Because the first time you read a chapter, you don't always, at least for me, I don't always ingest everything properly. Sometimes I look at the fights, I'm like, whoa, that's so cool. And then I kind of ignore everything else. Whereas if I have the spoilers, I do that a couple days in advance. And then by the time the chapter actually releases, it's like, oh, I didn't notice this cool little detail here. Or maybe a lot of people will start realizing things that I don't. Because like I said, I'm not a big theorist. And a lot of people in the community, even you guys came in with a couple of theories, like Dax with the freaking sperm whale. And I was like, oh, dang, I kind of, it blew my eyes open. It's
can't get anywhere without Dax talking about sperm whales. I mean,
yeah, so many people here, and, Dax is just unleashing the sperm in my eyes, and I can't see anymore. They're all red.
That was par. That was par.
Yeah,
that was par.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's what I love most about One Piece, in my opinion. It's just I'm just a regular guy, and it's the community that makes One Piece great. I'm just a singular voice.
Just having different formats and ways to read it. Sometimes I'll read One Piece in color. Sometimes I'll read it not in color. Sometimes I'm down to just read the spoilers to get them key points, as long as they're not hints from Redon. But anyway, but yeah, you know what I mean. You just want that. For me, I'm just down to just get ingest it and having a little bit each day. I'm cool with it. And I know some people ain't, but yeah, I'm down for whatever really.
Yeah, no, honestly, it's like I said, it's no, I'm happy you were able to share that because, and honestly, it's a challenge for me because every time I see a stream and we get into spoilers, there's always some kind of chaotic. So I was quite also happy we can have a peaceful discussion about spoilers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like
But
spoilers aren't for everybody. Like I still remember my biggest mess up when I first started YouTube was that obviously, like I said, I didn't know that spoilers were a big deal. So I remember one of my first thumbnails for One Piece. It was the chapter where it was Kanjuro. He was disguised as Odin. And nobody knew that. So I posted a big fat picture of Odin. I was like, oh, he's alive. And I got a lot of shit for that one, which I mean, obviously, like honestly, I said, I didn't know at the time, but
there's no one in the community that hasn't had like, in my personal opinion, and this is kind of like a lot of the TLA members have been around for a few years, at least for a year or two. There is a baptism by fire, and it's just the best way to learn. Like you can get into an argument on Discord or in the comment section of a YouTube community, and it's one of the best ways to learn how to, but like carry yourself out in this community, which is which is an interesting art form, but it's worth it. Like so, like I mean, when you think about how many people like I would have never spoken to about some of the topics we talk about and stuff. So at the end of the day, it's worth the payoff if you just keep it cool, just take the information, give your information, and be humble. You can't go wrong, right? Which is why we have like you three guys here today. All Paz left, so I don't need to be nice to him anymore. But yeah,
we can make fun of Par now. I collab with Par every week, and let me tell you, that guy, he denies it, but he loves Vasco Shot. He rides that nose, so to speak.
Yikes.
All I gotta say is it is a great way to learn with the community. I actually, one of the great things I found out from being a part of the community was about the Sugandese tribe.
Oh yes. It's a tribe we're all a part of, I see, when it comes to One Piece.
Yeah, I think everyone's been there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm super.
Yeah.
So, I am not a part of that.
Screwed.
My final second question. Yeah, I've been teasing it for the last 30 minutes. Sorry, guys. And since we always talk about post time skip and what's happening currently, I would like to know what were like your favorite island in the East Blue Arc, and for what reason. And I'd like people to be a bit more like unique, not saying Arlong Park, the Nami, when Luffy puts Luffy's straw hat on Nami's head, obviously. But yeah, very curious.
I personally, I was a big fan of the Baratier, and obviously there's the whole meme that I really like Don Krieg, but I really do. Genuinely, what I like most about Don Krieg is that he plays dirty, and I feel like as far as pirates go, he was the first real showing of what a pirate is, in my opinion. Where these guys fed him, he promised this, but he went back on his word. He's known as Foul Play Krieg. He wasn't even afraid to kill his right-hand man. Like, I really loved how brutal he was, which ties back to why I like Akainu and his sense of justice. He's just thorough. Like, he's just down to the bones. He's not a good person. And that's why I really like the Baratier a lot. And I really love the backstory that we had with Sanji and Zeph and their relationship with Sanji, like not really talking to Zeph, I don't really like my old man. But then in the very end, he bows down and they had that like emotional scene when he was leaving. It reminds me of me and my family. So I was like, you know what? I feel like the Baratier for me just struck a lot of chords that I really enjoyed. More so than like Captain Kuro and Buggy, for example. So I really enjoyed that arc a lot.
Yeah, it's a solid choice. Like, I mean, it's interesting because we've been so far now. Like, it's crazy to think of just like squeezing it into just the East Blue. But I don't know. I think Dawn Island's going to be massive. Personally, that's all I'll say. I think like Dawn Island, Dawn of the Sun, Monkey Kingdom, something to do with Joy Boy. Dawn Island, I think, is my fave island in East Blue around that area. But yeah.
What about you, Dak? What about you, Dak? I'll say mine at the end.
Are we how much can we stretch like the East Blue definition?
Not as far as
Lockdown barrel scene. Lockdown barrel scene.
So like so that's what I was about to say. Like if I it's gonna sound right as they're entering the reverse mountain, I would say. Like I mean you guys talked about a lot of the other parts, so like I feel like Baratier is probably like the best answer because like so much happening. You even have Mihawk there and everything. So
That's true.
that one. So I'm gonna pick this one because it's the culmination of everything in the East Blue, like that barrel scene, obviously. But like I mean, I think we all know why the barrel scene's amazing. You know, the dreams, like we're still waiting to see those, you know, come to fruition and everything. But I just think the almost like the completion of the first leg of the journey to me is even better, like in some ways, because I remember as a kid when I like first watched One Piece a couple times, which like I saw a handful of episodes because like on 4Kids or whatever, and then you know I didn't get back into it till like 2017. But I remember as a kid hearing Luffy say like, "I need to go to the Grand Line. I need to go there," and I remember me like thinking how wondrous that felt. Like I wonder what that sea is gonna look like. What and then you know and then once I started watching the series, I was like, oh wait, we get here in like 100 episodes. Like okay, like I thought it took way longer, but still, I think that just goes to show that Oda did a really good job of like building that kind of wondrous feel to the world that we're still kind of enjoying, like trying to find the One Piece and everything. But the Grand Line was kind of like the first like let's set a goal and get there moment, and that's what that was for, like with the barrel scene and everything. So that's why it hit me. Was it felt like, oh, Luffy can actually do this, you know, like okay, he was able to get to the Grand Line when nobody thought that was even super likely because he's on like a small boat originally and all that and didn't have a crew, but and then he made it here. And it's just like it starts to build that feeling of like, oh, he's actually going to go find the One Piece eventually, you know.
Quick question: do you think Joy Boy did the same? Do you reckon he went like from that direction? Do you reckon it's like a one-to-one sort of parallel in a way?
I like the idea that he well, I think it's 1-to-1 and everything except it was like the reverse direction, meaning that he probably came from the West Blue. And part of the reason I say that is that Laboon and Brook are from the West Blue. So if we're gonna take that the whale theory as far as possible, and O'Hara, so if we're gonna take all that, it almost feels like, and also that the Tree of Knowledge is like 5,000 years old, so that tree on O'Hara was there during well before Joy Boy's time, during and after Joy Boy's time. So I do get the feeling that Joy Boy is probably more likely from there, and so like we're seeing like Roger and Luffy parallel each other a lot with the East Blue stuff, but Joy Boy will give us a complete like opposite side of that. We're like still the same will and everything, of course, but it'll be just a different lens.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I agree. I think maybe he wasn't necessarily born there. Like maybe he was like taking refuge at O'Hara. Like basically, on what Dark's saying, if anyone in the chat, for example, wants to like basically just be convinced in an instant, just go on the wiki or Google O'Hara and look at the inhabitants, and you'll see all the children. All the children have Luffy's exact smile, like the huge D grin sort of thing. So I'm pretty much sold on that. I'd put money on basically Joy Boy being brought up in O'Hara and being fired out that way and going down the other way, down the Grand Line. What I was going to say though, interestingly, actually, I forgot about this. And I'm surprised this isn't a bigger thing. Right, we have Robin, who's tied to O'Hara. We have Saul, who's tied to O'Hara. And it was someone else, maybe Robin's mum. There's a couple of people. But basically, they all wear Ace. They all wear cowboy hats. And it's like, okay, like all the only other usage of a hat other than the straw hat is the cowboy hats at O'Hara. So I think Joy Boy might have had a cowboy hat, and then when he got to Wano, you know, switched it up for a straw hat or something like that, maybe. Like, but
I like that because you can also think about Ace making the hat for Oars Jr. and all like the Oars is Joy Boy theory. And the thing about Oars that is like actually one of, for at least for me personally, is one of like the meatiest parts of the Oars is Joy Boy theory is that during Thriller Bark, when someone brings up Oars, it shows Robin for a minute and she's like, wait, Oars? Like the demon from however long ago? Like she knows about Oars. Like she's already read about him prior to Thriller Bark, and she was like seeing him like, oh, is that the person we've heard about? So you're talking about like all this O'Hara stuff. It's like maybe like the tale of Oars is a common thing, like to the people that were on O'Hara. Like they knew Oars was a big deal. Like it was almost a common thing. Like maybe there's books from that island because he used to live there or something. That so like I don't know. There's a lot of things where it's like, okay, she that's important. She knew about that somehow.
Yeah.
Like she.
I mean,
either the poneglyph she found in the forest.
The poneglyph that like she recites to Croc, like just on what you're saying, she recites the hero of Mamadine, the hero of Betrayer, Mamudine, and gives this like Age of the Sea Circle, like what about 2,000 years ago, adds up to about 1850 years ago. And I've always wondered the exact same, like, did she just recite a tale that the O'Harans know, or was she reading some of the information in the poneglyph and leaving the stuff on Pluton? personally, I'm starting as the story goes on. I'm leaning towards the fact that like Elbaf might have like O'Hara, its location isn't given. That's probably pretty significant at this point. And Elbaf looks like we're going in that direction. So Elbaf might be around, not necessarily Elbaf, but O'Hara might be around Elbaf, or like in the same vicinity. So if Elbaf is backwards Fable, maybe the O'Harans were studying the Adam tree and like they were telling fables of all of this stuff, which I think might become the case. But yeah, that's getting pretty deep into the old
well. Well, we do know that O'Hara's in the West Blue, and so Elbaf being in the New World, there's definitely like a decent separation. But I do think the tree factor is 100% relevant because, like I've said this before, but like everywhere there's an important tree, important stuff's going down like immediately, because like the whale tree in Zoe had a road poneglyph. The sunlight tree Eve, all that does is take sunlight from the surface to Fishman Island, and also Fishman Island's right above Marie-Joie, so right there, Marie-Joie is Mary-Joie basically, and then you got Eve, so it's like there's a bunch of stuff right there. Then Adam tree on Elbaf, like Adam and Eve tree, obviously those are separate. Then tree of knowledge in O'Hara. Everywhere there's an important tree, you gotta. It's like Ancient Kingdom is involved. Like that's how I kind of think of it.
I love the trees, man.
All the kinds of trees.
Dak, there's some basis to what you're saying because the half of the world that the New World's in is in the same half as the North Blue and the West Blue. The Grand Line's in the half with the South Blue and the East Blue.
Yeah.
So like they're not separated by the red line.
Elbaf and O'Hara are just separated by the Calm Belt.
Right, so maybe at some point in the past they were connected more directly because like they didn't have the Calm Belt separating them. Maybe.
Do you guys think that
I completely agree with what you just said.
Do you guys think that Do you guys think that the hole that the tree, the sunlight tree, like sprouts out of was like IMU used the mother flame to punch a hole through the red line so that tree can grow through it? Maybe not like exactly.
It can't be the specific mother flame because like I've got this, like basically Dak and I have got a video coming out. Why don't you tell him, Dak? In fact, why don't you tell him when it's going to be out? Because you know better than I do.
Well, all I've read is the final portion of that document, so I don't know the whole thing. But
that's fine.
But yeah, but the mother flame, I mean that's like really recent, and like Vegapunk made that. So whatever. So in the sunlight tree has been around since forever. I think I'm sure it's at least 800 years old. So and what's weird though, from what I understand, is that I don't even think there's an actual confirmation that like the sunlight tree Eve extends like up where Marie-Joie is. I think it's like likely, but I don't think that's ever actually been
completely true. And to add to that, we don't actually know the height of, I think it's the red line specifically. It's only the Skylands and the bottom of the ocean have been fully stated. So yeah, that would be right.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, because I think like 10,000 meters or something was like the point where it became like pitch black, like near Fishman Island. And so like for me, like it would make sense that the sunlight tree Eve would be 10,000 meters high, because it's like, it's like pitch black when you get 10,000 meters low, then like you can get light from 10,000 meters high. I don't know, like that kind of juxtaposition. But
like, I mean, if we want to get into the real technical stuff, I know like trees are becoming bigger and taking up that tree video that everyone loves, but the Adam tree is said to touch the sky. We haven't had that confirmed, but the distance between that and the sky is 30,000, which is very, very tall. The Eve tree is supposed to be from the bottom of the ocean, which is 10,000 meters of sea plus the red line. So if that goes all the way up to Marie-Joie, we're talking even bigger than the Adam tree. If we're talking
as
about
above, so below.
As above, so below. Thank you. And like, if you want to get like speculative, you got Drum Island, where we have the Castle Pangaea, which is stated to be at what height on the tallest drum, which is said to be 15,000 meters, exactly halfway between the Earth and the Sky Islands. So if these trees are 30, yeah, exactly. If these trees are 30,000, then the Drum Island had trees that touched the sky. A lot of other places did, and it's very, 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 very super sus stuff. And Greyha lives in a tree, so yeah,
very true, very true.
I wonder if the trees are alive to an extent, kind of how like the ships have Cloboterman. I wonder if the trees have their own spirits, like a dryad, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I want to.
Yeah.
I think the whale tree was once an actual whale, and it was turned into a tree. Like, imagine Green Bull's awakening.
Thank you,
just
Armonti.
turned something into an actual tree. It's the only good thing he would have ever done, though, in the story.
No,
it would have been. It would have been.
That's just one of the many
prior
reasons.
user. It would have been a prior user.
Actually,
so it's more of a story about
brought all
how
those
he needs
big
to
trees
learn.
into existence. It was him.
Oh,
He's
really?
actually
They're all
Joy
from
Boy.
him. The Sunlight Tree Eve. Yeah, he brought the sunlight to the fishmen.
Yes.
Joy
He's a
Boy
great
had to
guy.
apologize because he couldn't do it, and then Green Bull was like, "Oh, I don't need to apologize. I can just go fix it. I can just right now."
I wanted to ask you just one question.
Hold on, give me a second. Smoky bless. I thought it was a dude asking a question. Shipping in on the tree theory. Now, basically, we've got some interesting stuff because we've got the 4 gods. One of them is the forest god. We have, Dak mentioned Green Ball. When he walks through one, it re-vitalizes like all the earth and stuff, and things grow. But then you've got like the sea forest where 2 poneglyphs are found. One of them's an apology to Joy Boy, and it's the panel where we first have Joy Boy's name introduced. We have the poneglyph, which we know that's tied to all poneglyphs tied to Joy Boy pretty much, and that was found, as Dak said, in the tree at Zoe, with a whale. Whale's obviously tied to Joy Boy as well. So all of it combined, I think like it's crazy that Tekka made a little like casual video, and now we're looking like that trees. As Sai said, they literally carry the dead, and the 2 people that like are known or speculate to have youth is Kureha and IMU. Both live next to a tree, so I imagine they're going to be crucial to the core.
Yeah, and that makes me think of the Shandora trees that had souls inside of them, and like I literally just talked about this in my last video, but like it, like whenever that was mentioned in Skypiea, like because at least at that point in the story, with all the stuff we kind of knew, we kind of took it as like, oh, that's just another crazy superstition. Like there's definitely not souls in those trees. Like they're obviously. This is another stupid belief that they have that's causing them issues, whatever. Because that was like their story earlier with Noland, was like they were supposed to, or like that god, that he killed was like, that was like an issue for him. Like they believed in that god more than science. And so it was like the same thing here. But I think that by the end of the story, we're going to find out that no, like actually these trees that were mentioned at the very end, no, they were actually a huge deal. Like they actually had souls in them. The souls were like freed, and like they needed to be freed because like they were probably sick along with the tree. Like if the tree's sick and you're imbued into the tree, you're probably also sick by extension.
Which would explain why like the Drum Island, like if Drum Island is tied to Will of D and all that stuff and has all these Joy Boy ties, like a Hito Nomi, then it would make sense that he was the one that maybe cut the trees down or cut the drums into drums. To cure Drum Island of flu fever or something like that.
Oh, that's a really good idea. That I like that a lot, because Noland is 1000% like another Joy Boy candidate type character.
Every 400 years, so like dwarves or Tontata get freed. Like at one point it was with Joy Boy, next it was with Noland, next it was around Luffy. So yeah, I completely agree. He's one of the candidates per se.
Yeah, and he probably would have if he was born later. But anyway.
Since we're speaking of like the Joy Boy thing, do you guys think that the Monsters anime will have some secrets as to One Piece lore?
Yes,
I hope so.
That's such a sick question.
1000%.
So, Sai, do you want to explain to people in the chat that don't know what you're referring to?
Yes, Monster is one of the, I think it's the 4th one-shots that Oda has written back in the day. And it actually showed us Ryuma, who is the inspiration for Zoro's design. We also see another guy named Shirano, and a lot of people equate him to Mihawk. And there's just a lot of things there. And Ryuma even, of course, he slayed a dragon in One Piece lore. And then in Monsters, he actually slays a dragon as well. It's never been confirmed by Oda whether or not this is 100% canon, but I mean, the ties are there. It would be one hell of a coincidence if it wasn't. So with that,
and
getting an
Ryuma's
anime
canon,
now,
so it's like,
oh yeah. It's got to have something. I feel like it's going to have something. It's finally getting anime after 30 years. So I feel like, if Oda wants to slip in some hidden details or some Zoro lore, I feel like this is the best place to do it.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know what else to put in there. because it's super short. I don't know if it's gonna be a series or a movie, but I think a movie is more likely.
So guys, I'm sorry to interrupt,
Hey,
but I'm gonna have to hop off because
yo.
I have some family here, so I cannot stay the full time. So I just want to thank everyone for being here. It's a great stream. Sai, I'm happy to have had a one-on-one. Well, 10-on-1, but it's cool to have you here.
No, we had a moment. No, it's good meeting you too, man. Thank you, I appreciate it. Thanks for talking good on the spoilers. I really appreciate it.
Dude, it's you do a good work, so we're gonna bring it up. That's how we do in TLA.
Thank you.
Yeah. We don't talk about negative stuff. We only talk about positive stuff here.
Talking now is Cuba the Red Sea, one of the oldest members of TLA, and like basically check out Cube's content, like his videos and stuff that he's put out on TLA, because this guy is like the expert on probably the most slept on subject in the whole of One Piece, which is hypnosis, like all the idea of controlling other people. Like Golden Week, even the Cypher Pole, Morgans, everyone controls people either through information or through power or Devil Fruit. So check out Coop's content for all that sort of like info. He gives you all the basics on that stuff, and it's real important, or like handy to know if you're a fan of One Piece. So yeah, big ups to you, boy.
Yeah, peace out, Cube. It's been a blast having you, and then
you got Vex's audio fixed. Nice.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I guess you guys couldn't hear me for a minute. I was just kind of like chiming in, being the peanut gallery.
For a while, boy.
No, like.
And then, do you want to Vex? Want to bring? Do you want to bring Josh in, or?
Yeah, I wanted to, say welcome to Josh, who's a friend of the channel. We've got his very own Ask the Audience planned for the near future, so get excited for that. He's also on the leaderboard for a few of the other Ask the Audience events. This dude's legendary in our game show.
Yeah. One Piece knowledge on absolute peak form, and also he might be muting in and out because he's got two beautiful turtles that like to try appear on stream. So like you got there with oh wow.
Yeah, this shouldn't be a problem right now.
Glad to have you here, Josh. I was wondering if you had a question prepared for our lovely guests here, Dak and Sai, while we've got you.
I haven't come prepared with questions, so.
Just come with the
all good.
Are you the same? Are you the same Vic Thor? I'm totally butchering that, I know, but that commented that I was talking to in the chat.
Yep.
Is that you?
It's me.
Oh hell yeah, hell yeah, yeah. He left a comment on my video, and then even Threevil saw it because it was a funny comment. It was like, bro, like this guy knows you too well, or something to that effect.
Josh is a goat.
Yeah,
he's got is ridiculous.
He said something to the effect of like Dak's looking for any excuse to talk about Brooke or something to that effect. I was like, yeah, okay. He's seen my videos. He knows.
Brooke and Laboon, that's it. It's your main topics.
Those are my boys. Those are my boys.
You forgot afros.
One Piece only needs two characters.
Those are two great characters, though, man. For real, they're two great characters.
Oh, just so sentiment. Whenever Frankie finds out that Brooke is friends with Laboon, and they have that little discussion on the ship, and they're like, and he's like crying, like he is a man, he's a real man, like he's sticking around for his friend, even though he doesn't know he exists anymore. And then the crew's like, oh, he exists. We met him. Like that to me, that might have been like what sealed the deal for me that I was gonna like love One Piece for life.
Yeah.
Do you think Jinbei could translate what Laboon is saying to Brooke?
Yes.
No.
Chopper can.
No.
You have to be the same race,
Neptune.
Right?
Only Neptune.
Oh,
only
yeah,
Neptune.
yeah.
I think
Neptune's the only one.
Yeah, Chopper can.
So
what about Chopper, though? Chopper can.
I highly doubt Chopper can, because it was specifically said, like in Fishman Island, that only Neptune, like I don't know if they phrase it as like the king of the fishmen or whatever, but they said only Neptune is the only person capable of speaking to whales. However, Laboon understands human speech. He just can't communicate back.
Well, with the
Neptune has the name of a planet, and the only other people who have names of planets are who? The Gorosei. Just saying.
No, but
well, and the ancient weapons, because Neptune is the Roman version of Poseidon.
Doesn't he have his own whale too?
Oh shit.
yeah, but with
he's got a little doo-doo.
Yes. Oh, and let me drop this real quick too. This is something I was talking about in the Discord. So yes, he does have a whale. The whale's name is Ho. And if you think about it, who was the villain of Fishman Island? Who is the villain of Fishman Island?
O.D.
Jones. O.D. Jones.
It all connects.
And what is Ho? What is Ho? He's a
Laugh
whale
Ho.
with a crown on
Prostitute.
its head. So you got Ho D. Jones. Like I'm just saying.
Laugh
Energy
Hotel.
steroids.
No, but
I like that
Steroids.
Laugh Hotel. That's just dope, bro.
Everything
With
you
the
just said, Dak, all it means is that Neptune is on energy steroids, and that's just what's been going on the whole time. Like,
Basically.
Actually, you know what? Neptune's 100% eating an energy steroid at some point.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
definitely happening.
Don't
Surely
get
somebody
Jack
stuck it
talking
into
about, like,
Shirahoshi's drink so that she could age up, right? She's only 16.
Whoa, that's
Whoa,
no.
whoa.
Har
I
already
thought we were on the
left.
same boat.
No, but I have a
Right.
question for you, Dak. Do you think that because at the end of Fishman Island, we did see that Luffy, like Roger, could hear the Sea Kings, like the Elder Sea Kings and things like that? You don't think Luffy would be able to translate Laboon for? He's been known to understand, animal speech as well through other examples. You don't think Luffy could translate Laboon for Brook?
I think there's two potential sides of that. One, I would say he shouldn't be able to, because like being able to listen to the Sea Kings was like an innate thing. Like he didn't try to do that, right? Like he wasn't struggling to hear them. It just sorry about that. Hold on one second.
No, you're
Yo,
good.
I'll jump in. I'll say
No, I'm back.
Oh,
I just had to. They opened up the door and went out to the living. Lay down,
I
buddy.
can't imagine what insight Laboon would give to the Straw Hats or Brook. Like,
dude,
what would he
so-
possibly say?
we have
All
the
the
same,
people that have crossed the
we share
red
the
line.
same brain cell, dude. We're thinking the same things. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I was about to say. I was
Like-
gonna be like, honestly, what's Laboon got to say? I don't want to disrespect the dude, but
Yeah,
he's a bit,
he's probably lobotomized too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Whoa.
I mean,
Slamming his head into a wall. Like, he's probably not the smartest. He'd be incoherent.
Can I get an
Like,
aspirin or something like that?
I miss Brook.
Crocus
Lobotomized?
has been talking to him this entire time, and Crocus knows so much stuff. So all we need is to start talking to him. Laboon's like, oh yeah, Crocus talked to me about that before, because he knows human speech, right? Laboon understands humans.
Man, I'll
Humans just
talk
don't
to
understand
Crocus
him. But Crocus might die at some point. I
then.
mean,
Fair.
he's old.
Do you think we'll see any other examples of painted like insides of a whale? Oh, that's such a weird question. I never thought I'd ask.
I bet you like Davy, if that is who the whale is that has laugh tail, like I think I could see him having like not paintings but like legit holograms. Like it's like an actual whole different world inside that's like way high tech, not just like Crocus's version's probably crude compared to the Ancient Kingdom's capabilities, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Dak, have you ever been on a cruise?
No.
Okay, we need to book you a cruise for some whale sightings or something like that.
You'll love that one.
Oh.
You'll become the
Dude, his
sperm whale
theories,
after a while.
I'll
So I
look at
can
him
pay
from the
with it.
shore or
Dude,
something safe.
The,
It's like
the theories that will come from his mind watching the whales. I swear to God.
Yeah.
I just start talking to him like, oh, I didn't know. Like I thought humans couldn't talk to you,
Or
or
singing Bing Sake.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll go play the song and I'll just get surrounded. I'll just drown. Yeah.
Apparently, if you rub your
I'm gonna
fingers,
learn how to
whales
play
will
the
come by.
violin. Oh really?
Yeah,
I'm gonna
that's
try
like a
that
thing,
right
like
now.
underwater. I think. No, not whales, but
Oh.
like fish. Fish will come to you.
I thought you meant like just right now. Like you mean like in the
Oh
ocean.
no,
Okay.
no, I wish.
Yeah, I don't have an ocean anywhere near me, but I mean I can try it.
That's what I'm talking
Side,
about.
what do you want to see from Vivi, by the way? Like, what do you reckon's going to happen to her?
From see from who?
Nudes.
Like Vivi, the
Vivi.
queen.
Oh, I don't want to see her at all.
Right. Me
Take him
neither,
out
bro.
of the chat.
I agree. I agree. I'm with Sai on that one. I agree.
Yeah, I'm not a big Vivi fan, but overall, like I feel like we will get more of her. I don't know where she's gonna go. She's with Big News Morgans, and they've been talking about the Straw Hats not writing the article about him. Her dad just died. I don't even know where she goes from there. Like because even if Vivi shows up to Marie Joie with the Revolutionaries or with the Straw Hats, I don't think she can add much minus her heritage. I don't even know how far that'll take her either. Like people say that she's like the 10th Straw Hat, but I don't see it personally.
Why do you think Emu wanted to kidnap her?
I think it might be the resemblance to Queen Lily. I think if Emu is from the Void Century and Vivi is a spitting image of Queen Lily, you know, they might just want to relive the experience.
Yeah,
So to see.
I'm feeling like Vivi's got to control Uranus, and now that they have the Mother Flame, it's like, oh, if we can get Vivi under our control, then that ancient weapon, we win basically, because like they can't control their ancient weapon, and we have one that we can control no matter what.
Maybe
like if the Mother Flame is like a new Uranus kind of style thing.
Maybe it ties back to Alabasta and how Vegapunk uses the Mother Flame to power Uranus or whatever weapon they have. Maybe Vivi will pull out the fatal fuel from Alabasta, and that fuels the ancient weapon. If you guys remember that, that's kind of a cursed concept.
Or the hero water.
Yeah,
right?
the hero water.
No,
we need a hero water go against the Mother Flame.
Jam?
What I was thinking is that, like, what if, I mean, we've seen Future Sight now and more prevalent in the story than ever. Like, that's something that we can assume most of the people in the end game are going to be at least a little bit versed on and things like that. But what if IMU had some other sort of Future Sight, like what Katakuri said, you could see a lot further ahead than I can. And if it's not the past that specifically is tying IMU to Vivi, but the future, I think.
I like that.
Ooh, that's pretty spicy, actually. Really
Yeah, because I
spicy.
think that it would be like who is a big bad who isn't able to at least do Katakuri level Future Sight, right? Or above that. I'm thinking way above that even. Like I think that would be a really cool power set. Like how are you even supposed to beat that? And you know, like Gear 5 obviously could be an answer because it's so unpredictable. And we saw with Luffy versus NL when he was also going up against somebody who claimed to be a god that he had to like turn his brain off in order to, you know, actually be able to fight on par with like NL whenever he was doing his whole fight with him. So I think that would be interesting is that if we had to revisit that mechanic in a fight in the future near the end of the series, if Luffy does end up squaring up with IMU.
I do wonder if we'll ever get a Twilight-esque fight where they fight solely in Future Sight. Like the two characters look at each other, they don't move, and they just, you know, wonder how the fight's gonna go with Future Sight, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm not gonna win this," and then they just leave.
It's like that.
They're just like mentally countering each other.
That's
like
like,
standing there looking at each other, and they're just
like, move
mentally
a
like, "Oh,
finger.
you would okay, so you would have realized my move." It's like a chess game, but you just don't move the chess.
It happens
like
in Sherlock Holmes too. One of the Sherlock Holmes movies.
With the two captains where they keep
well,
shadows
that's a big
behind each other. Like, like
Is everyone forgetting Raizo versus Fukuboshi?
The Fukurokujo. Don't disrespect the Hokage.
Yeah, don't watch your mouth.
They just finished their fight. That was bigger than 1071.
Yeah, hey,
That's
don't
literally what
disrespect
that
his
is.
name. He can hear you from miles and miles away with those earbuds.
Yeah,
So
baby.
you guys are talking about the most intense staring contest in all of One Piece.
Bigger head
Exactly.
than
Yeah,
It's
well,
a
here-
staring contest. We have no notion that they were actually paralyzing each other.
There's just chicken.
Also, I
It
need
was
to
nothing
know
but Future Sight.
how did the paralyzing work,
it
guys?
wasn't.
How did that is it's
We don't know.
Shikamaru from Naruto.
No, I'm
if you're familiar.
literally just them playing chicken. Like they're bluffing. It's like, oh, my paralyzation jutsu is more powerful than yours, and they're literally just faking. I don't know. Like that's my thing. I don't think. I don't know if
Nah, their will.
My
Their will.
thought. Because here's the
Ninjutsu
thing: we
isn't
know that
real.
Raizo's power is a scroll fruit. So, like, what in the world what could he have put in a scroll to hold him? So, my
That's very
thought on that
interesting,
is that it's actually shadows. So,
It's
going to the
wonderful.
Shikamaru reference, it's like, what if they both are like making their shadows stay in place? Like going back to the Moria thing. Like, I don't know how that would work, but again, I mean, these ninjas seem to have some really weird powers in the Oni Wabanshu or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they're doing that, but I feel like that
two major
is something.
points really to add to that is like honestly I think that there's an argument, and shout out to TLA and Den specifically for a video that should be coming out pretty shortly, but like I won't go too much into it, but like I think that like it's definitely something to do with possibly life return, but in my opinion, like I don't think that like Ninpo is actually something that it's not like as cut and dry as the people in Wano think it is. It's like how they think that some of their devil fruits are like, like witchcraft or like things like that, and like spells that are cast, and they don't have a full understanding about it, like a limited perspective. I'm almost positive in my head canon at least, but like I'm almost positive that with the Hokage battle, no disrespect, it was still interesting, but I think it was literally just like clout versus clout. They were just playing chicken. They were just having a staring contest and bluffing.
Let me just ask a quick question, like on what you're saying. Tosmorn said in the chat that like he made his forehead grow. Is that correct? I can't remember that.
Due to the anger for Raizo, it was in the SBS, but it was because Fukurokujo's sister died while saying Raizo's name that his anger grew into that, which is why he hated
dude,
Raizo.
that's life return. That's life return right there. Come on.
I mean,
that's some Denjiro vibe. I feel like
whipping around his
Dendro
earlobes,
trapped
like
in the fucking
What
thing.
happened to Dedro?
He'll give a hell of a run for his
Dendro-
money.
disappeared the entire raid and then showed up at the end, and we still don't have answers.
Yeah, but with,
I was meaning more so of like in the past what happened with Dendro, where he trapped himself in the old shack, trapped himself with his own anger, and physically contorted his face to a different appearance.
Yeah, dude. I personally like, and there's a paleness going on there as well. And paleness when we see like Amber Lead syndrome and pretty much any other disease in the One Piece world, paleness is associated with like a short lifespan or like an exhausted lifespan. Yeah, all life return, baby.
Yeah, I agree.
That's
Because like
why I said
Fukurokujo,
and why it's in my head, but Fukuboshi is one of the sons of Neptune.
yeah, the first son. But
People love him.
He was born the year that Roger was executed. Fun fact. But no, like with Fukurokujo specifically, it has to be life return. I'm fully convinced of it because when we first get introduced to the concept of Seme Kikon is like through Kumadori, who's whipping his hair around, and he says that because he has full control of his body, he's able to do these things with his hair and whatnot. And we see Fukurokujo just like straight up whipping around his earlobes across the room and stuff like that. Does he have like the earlobe no me, or is that just he has full body control? He has like that bio.
Go
ahead.
Or like,
okay,
in fact,
I'll go first.
no. In fact, let me bring you in.
Go ahead.
Yeah, let me bring you in because we know where this is going. Yeah, like, and as Vex has said to us in personal calls and stuff, like you've got Noodle Kempo, and they're shown to use the nose hairs to cut the pasta. Like hair contains keratin. Keratin is also featured in nails. Nails are used to make a Viva card. So long distance transmission of some sort of power seems to be possible through hair, which then I'll let the man come in and do his bit. Like,
well, that wasn't what I was going to where I was going to take it. So I don't know if you want to keep going. I was just going to say the life return makes sense for the earlobes. I can definitely buy that, but it doesn't make sense for the shadow, like the paralysis. Like that would be a far cry. So so I can definitely buy part of it. I guess the shadow, the paralysis jutsu in particular is the only like unexplainable phenomenon, I would say.
That's why I think it's fake.
Maybe they were using life return on each other to stop themselves from moving.
Well, life return's like controlling your own body, but like could that work with your shadows? Maybe, and maybe that's what this is hinting at, is like life return can extend to even controlling your shadow, which I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I brought this idea up in my Lucky Roo video because Lucky Roo is based on a guy named Lucky Luke who can move faster than his own shadow, which, by the way, technically speaking, we all move faster than our own shadow because like the light takes a fraction of the time to move with us, but whatever, it doesn't matter. So maybe that it could be a similar thing where like life return can extend to your shadow because that's an extension of you. And so that's what they're doing is, you know, their shadows are like mixing or whatever, and they're able to just hold it still. I don't know exactly.
If you think about it, they're in a room full of fire, and even like two of them are on fire. Like, where is the shadow? Like at that point, it's not like I don't believe that it could have been shadow paralysis because the light that would have been cast off of the flames all around them would have thrown the shadows in all these different skewed directions or completely had them done away with because of it was like surrounding them on every angle, right?
Yeah,
I feel like that would make their shadow everywhere. Like it would just be partial shadows, right? Like, because like the way the shadows would work is like, I mean, yeah, they are going to be moving a lot, but like you would have shadows all over the room at the same time because it would be like the fire behind you is casting somewhat of a shadow, even though it's like faint because like there's more fire on the other side. But like there would be like it would almost be like the fire's creating a little bit of shadow everywhere, like not a big shadow in one place, but
yeah, I get it.
So I could actually see that.
It's interesting. Tosmorn brought up an interesting fact as well, like with it being potentially like an armament hockey hardening thing, because when we were first introduced to Tech I, it was something that specifically like could harden your body almost to the point of like armament hockey, like vulcanization. But the drawback with it was that you couldn't move while you were enacting it. So I don't know if there's anything there as well, maybe like
yeah. I mean, you're transmitting the ability to somebody else. Like like when I was catching up on some of the episodes before the Nika stuff, the newest episode come out. I did notice that it's like it is weird that like Guernica just uses Iron Body and Gear 4 Luffy is just like nah, it can't really do anything about it, or like Luffy in general can't really do anything about it, and it's bizarrely strong. Like so, yeah, it's weird.
So I think that's definitely from like going through and learning different leveling like variations of it. Not really like variations, but like the higher levels of it.
I think that's also an application of potentially like this is going to be a hot take as well, but Conqueror's hockey is, you know, being able to use your armament and observation to impose, you know, like or using Conqueror's hockey to impose your armament slash observation onto the world around you. And so if it were like we've seen like you know in volume 4 billion, like with the observation killing, I think that could be a combination of observation and conquerors. So what if what we saw with the shadow paralysis was maybe a combination of conquerors and armament? Like
I mean, if you think about it, Shanks used his Conqueror's hockey to make Green Bull stop in his tracks. So, you know, it might
distance,
long distance,
distance as well.
So do we think that
the
Raizo
Wi-Fi
and
hockey.
Fukurokujo are both conquerors? Like it's
And I
easily, yep.
Oh, 100%. Hey,
Yeah.
listen, they're Hokages.
Yeah.
Okay, Hokages have Conqueror's hockey. That's a canon thing in Naruto.
Inherent. Sai, do you think we're going to be seeing Reverse Mountain come back into the story at any point, or?
Oh yeah, I feel like it'll definitely come part in the Void Century flashback. I feel like a lot of weather phenomenon are going to be explained. I mean, we just had the Ines Lobby Hole explained. I feel like the explanation for Reverse Mountain, the Red Line, even like the Thunder Island, it's all going to come back, and we'll learn how they originated. Because I feel like in the beginning, every island was normal. I don't think you know the world popped into existence and then they're like boom, Reverse Mountain all of a sudden. And especially with Skypiea coming back into play as well, we had those totem poles while going down Reverse Mountain that looked kind of strange, and people said that it looks like the gods that's from a Nell's cover page story. So maybe they do come back and it'll have something to do with the ancient weapon. Maybe that was done by an ancient weapon. We saw Uranus leave a giant hole. Maybe Pluton leaves giant whirlpools, giant Reverse Mountain-sized whirlpools.
But how would a mole leave a whirlpool?
Also,
real
quick, isn't the explanation for Reverse Mountain just that like the winds are so strong it pulls the water upwards?
That's what we were given by Nami, I believe, whenever she was explaining things. And we know for a fact that Nami had knowledge of Bragman, and most of what we know about Paradise from older times was apparently from Bragman through Ace. So that could be what we're told, or what the public of One Piece is told. We don't know if that's an all-encompassing, actual, factual explanation because of the way that history is portrayed in One Piece, right?
Yeah, I would say since Nami said it though, and she's just like an innate weather phenomenon master, you know what I mean? Like she knows that weather's coming that other people don't know. Like even I mean, this is in the movie, but like in Strong World, like Shiki has like a whole team of people trying to detect the weather, and Nami's like, "Hey, there's a big storm coming, get out of the way," and he's like, "No, you're wrong," and then a storm just rolls in, and he calls it an afro, by the way. And so like I definitely agree that like like if she's only saying that because it's from a book, it could be wrong, but I almost feel like if it was wrong, Nami would be like, "This doesn't make sense. Like I you know, I'm smarter than this. I don't know." So I could see either side of it.
I feel like Nami's right, but maybe it originates from something else though. Like maybe the reason why she got the wind thing is because of you know how it is right now. Like I feel like Nami's always going to be spot on when it comes to weather, but I think it's the history of how that weather came to be that's going to be like the one part that she doesn't understand 100% yet.
Dragon's Awakening.
Yeah, Dragon's Awakening Predator Reverse Mountain.
I think that
I
think there's an argument that Dragon is just using like with area tech. Like it doesn't have to be a double fruit in my opinion.
Oh my gosh. Imagine that.
I'm down for Dragon to do anything.
Yeah,
you know,
anything,
I think you've said some Dragon slander before. Maybe maybe I'm wrong, but okay, good. Yeah, I do the same thing because I mean that dude's just chilling all the time. Like for being the world's greatest criminal, he's done nothing. You know,
he's done nothing.
I mean, I guess his boys went to Marijois for him and you know and took on the Celestial Dragons, which in my mind I'm like, if there was one time to be with your team and do something, it would probably be attacking Marijois directly during the reverie. Like I don't know the full plan, but
he didn't even.
So it'd be cool if Dragon did something.
Yeah, but I mean, hear me out. Like, it makes a little bit more sense to me that Dragon could just whip a wind knot 3 times and cause a gale, like at Logtown, as opposed to.
I'd be so disappointed.
I
biggest
I would
fraud
just be
allegations.
Like,
oh my god.
So, especially because he hasn't done anything. It's like, so this dude's just pulling the wind knots over on Kamabaka. And Sai, like you said, he didn't even protect Baltigo. Like Burgess showed up and they just lost. Like
that was
Sabo no diff Burgess, but then all of a sudden they can't protect Baltigo from Burgess and whoever and the other Blackbeard pirates that showed up. We don't know any specific details from that, but it's just like.
Now I got 2 things to what you've been saying. So it wasn't just that. It's the fact that the location of the island itself was revealed because Burgess was there.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they just like, oh, fuck this place, and left. But back to what you were saying about Dragon not going to Marijois. Why would a king put himself in a position to be captured by pawns?
What does Luffy and Roger and Whitebeard and all the other goats do every single time? They go with their boys. They help them out. You know what I'm saying? They don't sit back like Whitebeard. Maybe there's a small argument that Whitebeard did something similar because like he waited forever to go start the battle at Marineford. Like he let everyone else fight for a while. But even then, he eventually joined. I mean, he was there.
Yeah.
And I would give Dragon a pass if he did something else. But he hasn't done anything else.
Dragon, like even if he doesn't go to Marijois, I feel like he needed to do at least one big thing in the story, and it just hasn't happened yet. He's always been on the sidelines, reacting to news as it comes. Like he's super shocked. And the one that I always go back to is that he questioned Sabo's loyalty for a minute when he read that Sabo might have potentially killed King Cobra. He was like, "Oh, Sabo, I'll never forgive you if this is true." It's like I don't think Luffy or anybody else would have ever doubted their crew. Like if it said Zoro killed Vivi, Luffy would be like, "Nah, that's BS." But Dragon, who literally raised Sabo, said, "Ah, man, I got to get to the bottom of this." Like, Sabo,
I got to get all the facts first.
Yeah,
it's like, you should know the facts already.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
I guess I'm all aboard the
if,
Dragon slander.
No,
and like for me, it's just funny because it's slander because he will matter. But it's just like for right now, he hasn't done anything, so it's fun to slander him for now.
Yeah, like buying Dragon stocks is always going to succeed.
Yeah,
Logtown the story would have ended right then. Boom. Luffy admitted his defeat. Luffy said, "Well, guys, I'm sorry, we can't go on this grand adventure. I'm dying right now."
That's kind of crazy.
Like, hey, your story doesn't end here, boy. Keep going.
Well, we were talking about it earlier, and so like Par, I think, shouted it out. Major kudos to Par for putting it in my mind because it's something I love to talk about. And I know Cube, if he were still here with us, would be all about it as well. But the significance of pre-time skip events specifically before Skypiea, because Oda had plans. He never intended for it to go on this long, and like so, some of the things that we got in Alabasta and East Blue and things like that at the beginning were obviously kind of in a wind-up phase he was intending to end the story a lot earlier then, and then there was a point where he switched, and then we started to get more shout-outs to all of the things that were to come. Like now we know more about the significance of Skypiea and the significance of Thriller Bark and Enies Lobby even in more recent chapters. But those events before all of those took place, like Alabasta and East Blue, are going to become a lot more significant because we are now in another wind-up phase for the final bits. We're in the last saga. And so I think it is really important for us to pay a lot more attention to those events. And that was one of the biggest moments in my opinion, pivot point for Oda's like, oh, I can make this go a lot longer. But like Dragon showing up at Logtown was huge setup for some endgame things, and I think we're gonna get something more like that very soon, I'm hoping. So I really do think, yeah, I hope we get something from Dragon, but I don't know if it's gonna be Devil Fruit related. Is my main point of contention. You know,
Dragon shows up to Egghead. You convince me, Vex.
I like that. It's actually on my Egghead bingo board. I did one with Marshall D. Preach, who I saw was in the chat earlier. Yeah. I don't know if he's still here, but shout out to him.
I was having issues, but I shouted out to him.
Yeah, no, I love Preach, one of my goats for sure.
Good guy.
But actually, what you were just saying about like Oda didn't plan for One Piece to end so quickly, so like we need to look early on for answers and that kind of stuff. So this is like such a perfect segue because for one thing, I do need to get going here in a couple minutes, but it's a perfect opportunity because that is like just the best point to end on because I've said it in a couple videos now where
oh, there we go.
Can you not hear me?
Oh, yeah. I couldn't hear you for a second.
Okay. So yes, Oda originally planned for One Piece to just be 5 years. And so I actually have the video pretty much done. I'm going to add a couple more things, but it's fully edited and everything. That's literally what Oda's original plan was for the story. That's my next video, which I was supposed to release it before this last one, but whatever. So, and some of the big points there is like, yeah, so Oda thought he was going to end the story in 5 years, but simultaneously, he's also said so many times that I've known the ending of One Piece since I started. I can already imagine the last chapter or few chapters right now. Like, I already know it that well. So whenever we think about, trying to come up with endgame answers or whatever, you need to look at the beginning. And like you're saying, specifically, I would even say before Reverse Mountain, but I think Alabasta Skypiea range is when Oda got the 100% all clear to keep writing. And so I think anywhere in that range of the story, like Alabasta Skypiea and earlier around there, that's where you need to look for endgame answers. Like right now, who's coming back in the story? Vivi, Wapol, which is like so random, but still that's a Drum Island character. Crocodile, Mihawk, Buggy. I mean, Alabasta in general is coming back in a major way. Shanks is finally making his move. Blackbeard's finally doing a bunch of different moves at once. So it's like all these people that were set up at the beginning to do important things were put on pause for so long, and now they're getting reactivated, which like should be your example of like, okay, we are in the end game. Like these beginning game people are starting to get back together. And so whenever we talk about Dragon, that's to me, that's like the ultimate symbol of like when Dragon, his powers are revealed and he's doing stuff. And I mean, if he ends up dying, which is possible, who knows? It would be kind of sad if he died like the first time we see him do anything, but still, all that kind of stuff like that whenever that starts happening, that's when we know, the story is getting close to the end. So, yeah, definitely look out for that video in the future whenever I drop it, because I think it's pretty damn clear how Oda was going to end the story, actually. Yeah. I think it's pretty obvious.
So, feeding to your point a little bit, I think that it was confirmed. I don't have the receipts right in front of me, but I can scour the internet later and I'll DM you. But I think it's midway through the actual Alabasta like arc where they're on the island, not the saga Alabasta, but the actual arc where Oda had done like the full pivot. Like he just switched it into high gear and started like saying like, oh, I can extend this and this and this. But when we originally got to Alabasta, he was in a wind up to end it very soon. And then it was before we got to Luffy versus Crocodile, like 2 Electric Boogaloo, that he had been like, no, I can make this like way bigger.
Yeah, and part of that theory that I talk about, which like ties to like this whole Alabasta, is kind of the, I don't even know, like the inflection point, I guess you could say, is I actually think there's a lot of evidence to show that Croc was originally going to be an emperor, but because he also said the warlords were never going to exist, the supernova were never going to exist, but Crocodile is so vital, Alabasta is so vital that whole situation had to be there, in my opinion. So I don't want to spoil the whole video because I could sit here and talk about it forever, but I think Croc was definitely going to be an emperor originally, and the fact he ended up being a warlord, that should be basically the time when Oda knew, like that is the first moment where we knew Oda was planning to extend the story, because like he was named a warlord, like I don't know, like sometime after Reverse Mountain, I can't remember. But like right before we got to the island, I think. I don't know. He was formally introduced as Sir Crocodile, the Emperor, like with like the full Oda box during the arc, but I think he was mentioned to be a warlord a little bit earlier. But regardless, I think when that decision was made to make him a warlord, that's at least as early as Oda knew when the story would end. Because if it was always about the 4 emperors, you'd have to start introducing that right after the reverse mountain. Like there's no other way around it. So yeah,
I numbers, and he was like, "I can go on."
Yeah.
Yep. That's it. In my video, I use Morgan's like looking at the check from CP0. Whenever I talk about Oda, like getting to keep writing, that's the clip I use because it's the same thing. Like he got, oh, they want me to keep writing. Oh, well, how much money? Oh, yeah. Oh, well, I can keep writing, no problem.
Well,
You can feed my family. Oh, hell yeah.
While we still have you here, Dak, I wanted to say thank you so much again for. I know we've been trying to get you on again on the channel for a while here, and everything just kind of fell into place with the chapter not being released this week. But you're always welcome aboard. It's such a pleasure to have you every single time. And while we do still have you, I wanted to shout out to the 69 wonderful people that we have in the chat.
Nice.
105 likes. This has been amazing chat. You are all so goated. Please make sure you check out Dak's new channel, Redacted. He's posting a bunch of fun anime content, not specifically One Piece related. I've been plugging the link, for months now.
Oh, then the number one plugger of the link. I appreciate you, bro. Thank you. Since literally before it was even called Redacted, you were doing it. So.
Yeah. So, but major shout outs to Dak, and thank you so much again for joining us. And it's always a pleasure having you aboard.
Yeah, my pleasure to be on here. Everyone, it seems like all of you have liked the stream, or at least a vast majority of you. Make sure to subscribe to The Last Arc also if you haven't already. There's an amazing group of people. I mean, the name says it for itself, but they're going to be taking us all the way to Laugh Tale, just like the rest of us creators. So definitely follow them. I will be on here again for sure. So it was a huge pleasure, I guess, to be on here, and yeah, can't wait till the next one. Oh yeah, and I also just made a TikTok. I don't have any uploads yet, so if you want to be a part of the first wave of Dak Sake TikToks, I just put the link in the chat. If you're up to date on all my theories, you're not going to see a whole lot of new stuff over there, but just a new format for it. Like, I'll squeeze a long theory into a short one.
Dak Talk.
Dak
Talk.
Dak Talk.
I like it.
There's a couple other ways you could mix those names. I'm not going to say it. We'd be getting into Vasco territory, but yeah, guys, it was a pleasure. Everyone, like I said, subscribe and like or subscribe to Last Arc, like the stream, all that good stuff, because these are some great guys. So thank you guys, I appreciate it, and I will definitely be back on again soon. So have a good one.
Looking forward to it. Major shout out to 3 Day as well for putting all the links in the chat. Absolute goat mod, another one of the captains of the Last Arc who's been here with us. Could not, you were such an integral part to the community. So everybody W's in chat for 3 Day and show her some
3
love.
Day. 3 Day is like the plug person. They got all the hookups you need. But to piggyback off of Dax though, I gotta go as well. I really appreciate you guys for having me. Like I said, thank you so much, TLA. Like I said, I've never really gotten into vibe with any One Piece communities yet. You guys are the first. And it was a great experience. I love the conversation. I love what you set up here. Literally getting 10 people together for a call isn't as easy as it sounds.
No.
Yeah, no.
That's like a reverie ass feat, and that's super cool, man.
Major kudos to Cube and Dill for organizing.
And 3 Day are all in the group chat that we have with Sai, Par, and Dak, and we can all speak on this. It's been in the works for almost 2.5 to 3 months now.
It's been real good though.
Yeah.
It's been pure like vibes from beginning to end. So thank you both for coming and obviously for Power as well. But yeah, Sai, it's a pleasure to do this for the first time and whatnot. So yeah.
Oh, of course, man. Thanks for having me again. It was fun talking to you guys. Really enjoyed it.
Audio issues earlier, but I was saying that it's such a great community to be able to have people who have spoiler content on the channel, and I'm not a spoiler, aficionado myself. I just stick to the seconds, but having you, here in real time and actually getting to discuss with you, it's been wonderful because normally I only see Sai on like a 1 week delay cycle. I get to watch you after the chapter actually the scans drop, so I get to see you with a little bit of a delay. But it's been great having you and sharing in the conversation. We look forward to more in the future. Absolutely, you're always welcome aboard.
Of course, man. Thank you guys for having me again. We should definitely do this again sometime. Just go to the group chat and set up a date. All right. Peace out, guys.
Take it easy, man. Have a good
Bye
rest.
bye.
And then yeah, if Den, if you wanted to plug anything else as far as the up and coming, or I can go ahead and start closing it up.
Okay, yeah. Well, so basically we've got well, firstly, thank you for all of them. If you want links for any of them, jump in the server or jump in, just scroll up chat, you'll find them all. Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournament Friday, probably a big stream, or not a big stream, but a big like theory stream sort of thing on Saturday. If you need to check the dates, we've got an events channel in the server, and you can just click that, and it's all there, scheduled, color coded, bam, 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 easy to read. Sub to all of them, everyone on the planet, and I'll let Vex bring us out.
Yeah, major kudos to 3Day for being in the chat the whole time and making it rain links. Major kudos to King Calm from Group 2, No Chill Dill, formerly Hat D. Tory, right here for helping organize this as well with some of the goats in the community. It's been a whole lot of fun. If you guys enjoy this, looking forward to more collabs in the future. You can also check out our recent 3-Volt collab, which is on the live channel. And then they're spitting Spice out on the Theory channel. So make sure you check the description. We've got 2 different Last Arc channels. Hit up both of them if you want more golden goated content coming out. We have in the Discord a blooming community of D&D aficionados as well, where we've got Group 2, which solos, by the way, and we had my first stream last night on my channel. Links in the chat and in the description as well. And if you're wanting to see Group 8 with SSJ8 Cody tomorrow on he streams Twitch. We have links in the Discord that are getting rain in the promo channels as well. If you're interested in being a part of your own D&D experience in maybe the One Piece world, definitely grab the D&D nerd role. And major shout out to Fritz the Ditz, which you can find him on Twitch, for streaming it for us tonight. He's also a big part of the News Coup movement. If you don't know, it's definitely the future of chapter reviews. We've got News Coups coming out for each of the chapter reviews on Sundays. Make sure you go peep those on the Theory channel as well. We've got so much great content headed your way. So everybody, please make sure that you are sub to all of the homies who are here. Links for everything in the description. Thank you so much for joining us and liking D stream. It has been so wonderful. If anyone else has any other closing words, then speak now, forever hold your peace. But we are going to be wrapping it up here shortly, you guys.
Group 6 coming soon.
Hey, yeah, major shout out to Kev, who's a GM for Group 6 and Group 3. Group 3 streamed on Dire Regulus's channel, and Group 6 is a Marines-oriented campaign, if I recall correctly. So be on the lookout for that.
Oh yeah.
But it's been wonderful, with all of you guys. 108 likes, absolutely phenomenal. There's 60 of you still here with us, and we appreciate all of you so much. Much love to the Last Arc crew. Glad to have you all aboard. Make sure you like and subscribe. It has been a wonderful time, and we will be seeing you guys in the near future with a lot more spicy content coming your way.
Very true.
All right, and with that, we will call it a close.